What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Echoes of Elsewhere, the podcast where abandoned places become gateways to the stories they still hold. I'm your host, Courtney Autumn. Some cities feel almost inseparable from the idea of urban exploration, and one of those places is Detroit. For many decades, Detroit's abandoned factories, theaters, hospitals, and schools have drawn explorers and photographers from around the world. People fascinated by the quiet beauty of places where time seems to have paused. Behind many of the images we've all seen of Detroit's ruins are explorers who have spent years documenting these spaces before they disappear. And today's guest is one of them. Known online as Detroit Unseen, he has spent many years exploring and documenting Detroit's abandoned architecture, capturing everything from forgotten schools to historic landmarks. His work is not just about decay, it's about preservation, history, and understanding the life a building had before it was left behind. In this episode, we talk about how he first got into exploring, what it was like documenting Detroit during some of its most abandoned years, and the deeper stories behind the places many people only see in photographs. Have you done a podcast before?
Yes, I've done a few.
Okay.
Done maybe I think this would be like my sixth or
Oh, nice.
seventh.
You're seasoned in exploring and in podcasts.
I guess so. That's why Leland started telling me about you, and he had done your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you should do Courtney's Urbex Echoes." And I said, "Well, dude, hit her up, man. She wants to interview a real one. Tell her to hit me up." And I'm just like, bullshit. But he actually did it.
He did. He did. Yeah, because he had messaged me about Teacher's House, and then that led into because he was like, "Oh, I wanted to take a friend," and I said, "Well, who's your friend?" And he was like, "Oh, you should totally get him on your podcast." And then he sent me
Yep.
your info, and I think I was already following you, so I was like, "Okay, this works out."
Love
But
it.
yeah, after you and I started chatting, and I said this to Leland too, you guys in personality remind me of each other, so it makes sense that the two of you would do well, like exploring together, especially
It's
since
my
that.
dude.
Yeah, you guys do that annually. How did you guys meet? Was it through
So yeah, it was
the internet,
basically
I assume?
basically through social medias and doing urban exploring and kind of having that commonality, right? And
Mhm.
similarities. But what happened was in 20, God, so we met for the first time, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019. So this would have been our 8th year of doing this, okay? So we met first, I think it was to do, yes, I remember it was Ghost Town, the amusement park, right? In the Smoky Mountains. We met to do that before anybody really knew much about it. So I think that would have been summer or fall of 2018. I'm getting old, so my memory is not as sharp as it once was. But yeah, we did that. We talked about it, and then I ended up making plans and booking a hotel. I went by myself. I drove all the way from Detroit and down there, and I said, "Okay, I'm going. Whether you're going to come or not, I'm going to go for it." He ended up hitting me back and saying, "Yes, I'm good." Him and his girl ended up coming down there, and we met, and then we hung out for I think it was like 2 days, maybe a day or two, and did a couple other spots on top of Ghost Town. So then after that, we just gelled on that whole trip, right? I think it was only 2 days, but we just clicked. And then my parents moved to Florida maybe some 20 years ago, and they're not that far from Leland. So Leland lives in Florida now, but like this guy, he's so good to me. So he's let me like fly in. He'll pick me up. I'll take his car to go see my parents, and then go back and pick him up in his car and then hit the road with him.
Wow.
So like he's done that for me, so I'm able to see my
So
family,
nice.
and like what a just a all around good guy. So like once he did that, following year, I think he let me do that, and then he did it again for me 2 years ago. And I ever since then I'm just like, okay, this is what we're doing. I'll come down to Florida to get a reprieve from the cold weather. Didn't happen this year, but usually it does. I'll come sometime after the holidays. So I always usually come January, February, as late as March. And I'll let you know what days I come. You take that week off of work and we'll hit the road for a week. And this was our 8th year doing it.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
It
That's
is
awesome though.
crazy. It is crazy.
Is that primarily when you get out of Detroit to explore, or do you, like, leave a lot throughout the year otherwise?
I leave.
I leave.
I
Like,
leave all
I'm
the
outta
time.
here.
Like I'm always on the road. Like I think it. Have you ever seen my documentary?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you talked about it.
Yeah.
So in that opening segment of the documentary, I'll probably reference that a lot because so many people have seen that, especially urban
Mhm.
explorers, right? It went viral within like a month. It's at like almost 2.4 million views now. But
Dang.
it it really changed everything, that whole documentary. But I say in there's no place that I'd rather be than on the open road, right? And like that is still true now. We filmed that almost 6 years ago. So like
Wow.
it's crazy how it still holds true to me today. And even now I'm 40 years old. Like, so I still live on the road. I go on road trips probably at least every other month. And that is
Wow.
a road trip for like a week, not counting weekends or day trips and stuff like that that I do all the time.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. So
Yeah,
you're
throughout the months.
you're
Yeah.
still going strong, basically.
And then if I'm not, like yesterday, I was out in Detroit exploring all day, right? So like I still as busy as I am and as much as I have to do with the YouTube channel, and because Fran, my partner, he is Sketchy Johns. Him and I are Abandoned Central for the most part, right? So that is our YouTube channel, and we have to drop videos we try to do every other week. But we're both so busy. He's so busy with work and he does a little exploring, and I'm always exploring. And I do have a day job that does keep me busy. So, like, yeah, it's as busy as I get and as much as I got going on. One thing I'll never do is slack on exploring in my hometown.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing that you still kind of do that, though, as long as you've been doing it around there.
I can't
You
even
never
like,
get tired.
dude, I don't get tired, but what it does is like, I'm so bad about First off, I'm really, really bad about posting. I think a lot of people that don't know me or like may not have heard of Detroit Unseen or any of those things of course, they have no idea. Those that know me or know what I've done or know how long I've been around, including friends or people, associates, or even Instagram followers, things like that, I don't think they understand truly how much I've done and how many locations I have done. And not on top of that, how far I go back. You see, like I'm talking to a kid the other day and he's like, oh, I got this church, in New York City, right? So he's like, oh, I really want to do, you ever done this one? And I'm like, bro, send him and this church is really getting posted a lot lately. And I sent him a screenshot of a photo that I hit that church in 2017, I think, or 2018. And so I circled the screenshot because you have the time stamp
Mhm.
and sent it to him. He's like just blown away, dude.
Mhm.
And
That's
that's because,
crazy.
like I don't do this to brag and I don't do this to show off or any of those reasons, but I certainly could if I wanted to.
Well, I think that there's a difference too between bragging when you're just bragging to do it and making a point, which the point is that you've been doing this for a lot longer than a lot of people have even heard of urbex. And
Absolutely right.
and there is a part of it that's frustrating when you're dealing with a lot of people who kind of act like know-it-alls, which is like
Yes.
90% of this community.
And I want
So
to like put them in their place so bad. There's people in South Carolina where you're from, okay, that have no clue that I've probably hit more South Carolina locations than they
oh,
have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In general, though, I mean, I don't know, I think it's the one thing that bothers me most about this community because there's so many people in it with such a like-mindedness, behind urbex
Mhm.
and all these things, so I'm just like, "Why are we not bothering to let our guard down and let our ego down a little bit and learn from each other?"
That's
Because if we just treated it differently, we could probably be, like, one of the best communities out there if we
I
could just collectively get
couldn't
our shit
agree
together.
more. That was actually really well said. I think that that's kind of how I've always looked at it. And I like the way that you put that, that we should be coming together. And
Hmm.
like people are all about nowadays, like clout chasing and like
Yeah.
showing off and like, oh, look what
Yeah.
I did and you can't get it. Or like, and then what they're doing is like going into active places and acting like they're abandoned and all sorts of crazy. And now you got like these kids that ran through this school in Rochester, New York, right? The security alarmed everything. They
Mhm.
take 15 of them and they just run through it running by security laughing at them. What are the cops? What are the security gonna do? There's 15 of them, dude. They just run all different ways, right? So they just run through the school, they
Yeah.
video it, they show the auditorium, and then they run out and run away and they all go separate directions. What the hell are you gonna do about that? You ain't gonna be able to chase them all. You ain't gonna be able to. It's really minor at the end of the day. And America does do some crazy extreme things for people trespassing, but for the most part, they're not gonna waste the resources on stuff like that.
No, no.
But that does give it a bad name. And like I was complaining about it not long ago. And Fran, Sketchy Johns, my YouTube guy, that's my man. I owe him so much. That's my brother. But like he said to me, he said, don't you understand that we are part of the reason they're doing that? I was like, holy shit, you're right. Like if we never did this, we didn't post this, we didn't go on social media and show up. That they're just picking up off shit that we did, right? So yes, we don't do it to that extreme, or we may not do those same type of things, but that's what urban exploring or abandoned buildings has done by becoming such a mass uh, focus on, or a fad in a
Yeah.
sense, right? Or popularity. And it's really blown up in recent years, especially since COVID.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah, I'd love to see us come together, but people are too all about themselves and really self-absorbed and we don't want to share locations openly, and a lot of people just now do that. And like we come from the old school era, like that's why it took me so long to get on YouTube. I was so against YouTube for years that in fact Fran had to, on a road trip in 2020 filming for the documentary, he was following me around to get b-roll for the documentary. He wanted that open montage of me in the intro actually exploring abandoned locations. And that's what that is in the intro of the documentary. When I say, oh, I've traveled all across the country and all this stuff, and you'll see me going under the fence at the Houston Astrodome, or you'll see me crawling in windows at the Louisiana prison. So, like, all sorts of things that he followed me on and showcased me on that trip was when he told me about YouTube and what I could do and my potential. And like, I'm like, dude, I've never shot video. I'm an urban explorer, thoroughbred. Like, I'm not even a photographer.
Hmm.
I am an
Yeah.
urban explorer. That is
Same.
what I do.
Yeah.
So to go from that to video was a real challenge for me and still is. I'm still learning. I've only been doing video for 5 years now. So it's
Wow.
not, yes, or 6 years. Yeah, 5 years. So on that trip, he talked me into it and that's how it came about. But like, yeah, we don't share locations. We want to keep the locations, especially if they're good, but we want to keep them with our friends or our circle. But even that can be risky, right? Because if
Yeah.
it gets out in the wrong hands, you get vandalism and destruction and arson and police involvement, community involvement, all those things that come with it. Negative attention, negative focus on urban exploring as a whole. And that does not look good upon us.
Yeah, yeah. It's all a kind of vicious cycle in that regard.
Yes.
And that's why I don't understand why people have gotten bent out of shape before about gatekeeping, because to me, it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm like, I
Because
feel like if you love exploring, then you are by natural law a gatekeeper because you can't both love exploring abandoned places and then be part of the reason they constantly get ruined because you're not gatekeeping. Like that's the logic in my head. I'm
course.
just like, I don't know if that's
It's
simple
great
math.
logic because, like, honestly, the people that are saying that are gatekeeping, and the people that aren't saying that, that are complaining about that, don't have the locations. So it's either jealousy, envy, or hypocrisy, right?
Mhm.
Like we all gatekeep to a certain extent.
Well, you have to. I mean, if
Yeah.
we gave out every spot, there would be no spot
Shit.
left of
You
any
kidding
decent
me?
condition.
No way. No way. You know how many
Yeah.
spots I'm sitting on that I can't even post right now?
Yeah, yeah, and that's how
Shit.
I also can easily distinguish the difference between someone who cares about actually exploring
That's
more
right.
and isn't just clout chasing. Because if you're clout chasing, you're so quick to post a spot, even if it's like super risky to do it. You don't care if no one's
Yep.
done it, even more of a drive to do it because you want to be the first one. Just
So
all these
true.
things, you know, and I'm just like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in the community and behind like what the culture's turned into that obviously like I've been doing this for a long time, you know, so I feel like I'm not I'm not far from where you're at with
You
how
are
it's
right on
outlook.
point with me. I started in March of '08.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Incredible. Wow, I did not know that you were well, Leland said that you had been doing this for a long time,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is
it's been a
rare.
lot. Well, and like you, I'm sure you see kind of the pros and cons with social media, you know, it's great as far as, like, you get to share the places if you really love them. People are interested in it that
Yeah.
aren't in the community that really wanna know the stories or whatever, you know, and there's those people that make it great,
Yes.
but then there's the downside where obviously the more things get posted, the more they get found, and then the more likely they get ruined, so that
Yeah,
sucks.
and nowadays,
Not
right,
for
with
everyone.
AI and fucking
Uh,
reverse image search and, you have to be so now we're going into spots and we're like, "Okay, take this photo and run it through AI and see what populates," and, like,
yeah,
if this is gonna populate, come up, whatever, you gotta be so careful about things like that when you never have to worry about that. In fact, when I first started exploring in '08, I didn't even have a social media. I didn't get a social media until 2011 or 12 when I first made my Facebook. And I
wow.
had a Tumblr at the time, right? So crazy that
Oh, man, I used to love Tumblr.
yeah, yeah, it's wild that that's what started really posting for me was the Facebook page and it kind of grew from there when Instagram came about and then TikTok. Well, I'm still not big on TikTok. I used to have a Detroit Unseen TikTok. I don't even do that anymore. It's abandoned central all day because that's what we're trying to promote for the YouTube and that's where
Gotcha.
honestly the money comes in. You know, this isn't why I do this. Like I don't want urban exploring to become a job because that is when I will not like it anymore. But like having that drive and motivation helps by getting some type of benefit back.
Yeah,
And that's YouTube and promoting and TikTok and trying to get that type of attention and audience and following and those types of things without making this environment or this culture or this hobby more toxic than it already is.
yeah, totally, totally. So, did you start exploring in Detroit when you
Yeah.
started in '08? Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, this all started for me because so I was a junkie. I was a heroin addict. I talk openly about it. In fact, my day job is I run a outpatient drug and alcohol treatment program. So like I'm
Wow.
still helping people get recovery and get clean and sober in inner city Detroit, in the Cass corridor, where I not only used drugs and got high and squatted and did all those crimes and unbelievable things that I did, I wanted to eventually get clean and be able to come back to Detroit and help rebuild and help the people that I once took advantage of or help the city to overcome some of the crap that they go through and help rebuild it instead of tear it down like I did for so long, you know. So
Mhm.
that's what I ended up doing was coming back after I got my um, bachelor's degree, my master's degree. Then I came back. I actually came back during my bachelor's degree, but yeah, to start working at a treatment center and it's grown from there. So I'm a junkie. And what happened was I was squatting in abandoned buildings to get out of the elements, the cold especially, and just to shoot dope somewhere because at the time I'm homeless. I got nowhere to go. My parents had kicked me out of the
Wow.
house. Didn't have a car. Well, I had a car, but the car was, it's a long story. We could talk for hours, but I was out of gas on a flat tire. I was sleeping in the car most nights. It was awful. But in the cold, I had to get out of the element and stuff. So I was with this OG old head, and he was also a heroin addict. So he took us into a squat on Grand River. This would have been 2005, six, somewhere around there. I got clean in August of '06. So this year I'll have 20 years clean. But
Wow.
that's the point of it is this building was it was terrible. It was like collapsed, dark, wet When we went in on the first floor. And it was a big building. And then we went over into a corner where you could get out of because the ceiling was leaking and it was dropping down. So we went to a corner where it was dry, where we could spread out, sleep, get some rest, shoot some dope. And I think cook food. I think we had food. But anyways, he starts telling me that like this building is, do you know what this building is? And I got to be honest, like I come from the suburbs, okay? I did grow up in the suburbs. I will not lie, I was not born and raised in the city, but did grow up a half an hour or even less outside the city. So coming to Detroit as a youngster, my grandparents came through Detroit. My grandmother worked at the State Theater. So all of this stuff that I was told as a kid growing up, I always liked Detroit, but my parents were always like, Detroit, you're gonna die if you go there. So you're gonna get shot and murdered, right? Like all this stuff. So it was just a complete culture shock for me when I became a junkie and ended up coming to Detroit because I wanted to get high and be a part of that lifestyle. So, anyways, go back to the story. We're over there, we're hanging out, and he says, this is an old ballroom where famous musicians played. I'm a historian. This is what attracted me to urban exploring in the first place, I believe, is that my father was a very educated historian. He went to college. He was going to be a history teacher,
Oh,
but he
wow.
ended up finding his my dad ended up getting busted in Houston, Texas with like 400 pounds of marijuana. This is like 1970, right?
Oh
So
my
like,
God.
yeah, dude,
Holy
true story. I got the paperwork and everything. Like
crap, that's crazy.
that story in itself is crazy because the cops ended up beating the shit out of him and his buddy, stealing half the weed. So when he went to court, there was 200 pounds, and my dad said, and his buddy like, it's 450 pounds. Like I don't know where they ended up investigating and finding out that these cops were corrupt. And yeah, he had to testify against them, and they offered
Oh
him
my
witness
God.
protection. And
What
my
a
mom
freaking
was
gangster.
it's crazy. Like my mom and dad are hippies, right? They're hippies, and
Your dad
they
sounds like a gangster also, though.
yeah, definitely. He looks like Tony Soprano. So, right. And my mother is so I'm Italian, right? So my
Mhm.
mother is 100%. She's such a beautiful woman. That's my soul. But so like I always was like, okay, history, history, history. My dad loved Vietnam. He loved the wars. He loved conspiracies type stuff. So of course, instilled that in me, right? Especially as when he became a business owner, I started working for him when I was like 12. He owned a carpet cleaning business. And we just worked together. That's what we did. So I was influenced by that. So when he started telling me that all these musicians had played here, I'm like, okay, name some. So he's like, oh, the MC5. And I'm like, oh, that's cool as hell, but they're local Detroit. So that's, then he's like, Janis Joplin and The Who and Led Zeppelin. And I think he said Jimi Hendrix, although it turned out Jimi Hendrix did not play at the ballroom. But, anyways, a few other famous musicians, I think Eric Clapton. So I'm like, really? In this place? And he's like, no, upstairs. So he's like, do you want to see it? I'm still thinking this dude's full of shit, right?
You're like, he's so high, we don't know what's going on.
Right. Exactly. But I knew there was something going on with it because on the outside of the building, I knew that neighborhood. Up above, you could see on the second floor some very interesting architectural details
Okay.
on the outside on the facade.
You're like, so he might not be full of shit completely.
Right. Arched windows, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe. So he's like, let's go see. I'm like, is he walking me to my death? Or like, what's going on here?
Hey,
So,
this is where I die, in the ballroom.
so he ends up taking me up these stairs. And as soon as we get up, it was dark. It was nighttime. So I couldn't really see a lot. But after my eyes adjusted, because at the time it wasn't boarded up. So you could see from the stars or the moonlight or whatever that you could see a little bit. And yeah, I didn't have a cell phone back then or anything, so it's not like I could use a flashlight. But I remember seeing details and seeing the stage and going, holy shit, he's right. So I'm like, or he could be right. So I ended up going during the addiction still. I ended up getting tried to get clean right after that. I went to rehab. I got busted, went to jail, and then I went to rehab. And then during rehab, I remember being at rehab in the treatment center and getting on the internet and looking stuff up. And then when I moved back home to my parents let me come back home because I was clean, researching stuff, right? About that ballroom. And turned out it was the Grandy Ballroom. And indeed, all of these people had played at this Grandy Ballroom. And
Wow.
it was such a historic place in Detroit that it became a very embedded part of the culture in especially the rock and roll culture of Detroit Rock City and influencing then Motown, right? So like Detroit in general is very music centered. Where Motown, Detroit, Rock City, all these things are true. So it really changed. I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. I got to see that, right? And I got to experience that. So I remember at that time I went on to others. This is when I found other websites. I don't even know if they're around anymore. DetroitBlog.org, I don't think is. DetroitFunk.com is still around, I think, Randy. And then there was ForgottenDetroit.com, which is still around, although he doesn't update it or doesn't explore anymore. David Corman. Those were websites that were in the early 2000s and mid 2000s about Detroit,
Wow.
that about abandoned buildings in general. DetroitBlog.org and DetroitFunk.com did not explore. They were not explorers. They were not urban explorers. They were just doing mostly exterior photos, talking about the buildings and the culture and the history and what they were. But ForgottenDetroit.com, which is still up today, you can Google it right now, David Corman, this website changed my life. This is where I ended up clicking on, he had locations named and you could click on it. And we're talking shooting this
What
in
can you do back then?
2004,
What can you do back
2003,
then? Yeah.
point and shoot cameras, right? Like there wasn't DSLRs. So yeah, but I could still see like the
He
buildings
was
that are,
probably, like, using a little digital camera too.
of course, but like you could see on the website, he has like flashback to see this photo back in the day, and he'll have like a before and an after.
Oh,
And
neat.
it's where like I'm like, okay, I love this, right? So like I started to really get interested in Detroit's history and everything Detroit. So I felt like that was what really influenced me to get interested in abandoned buildings. And then the day happened when my mother gave me the point and shoot camera, her old point and shoot. She had got I think she got a DSLR. So she had gotten a DSLR. This was 2008. So she gave me this point and shoot camera, her old one, which was a nice one. I think it was a Sony. And I was going to school and I was driving down Grand River and I drove by the Grandy Ballroom and I had that camera in my car. I
You're
think
like,
it's,
"I'm gonna go in there
and I
right
saw
now."
it was open. I saw that somebody had ripped off the board and I went for it. I said, I'm going in
That's
there
all
to
you
fix it.
need, that's an invitation.
And the crazy thing, as I remember going, I can remember going in there, not even to document the stage per se, but to document where I squatted at. Because now I'm clean, right? So now I have 2 years clean. So I did want to shoot the stage too, but I really wanted to show people like this is what I was squatting in when I was a junkie. Like,
That
but
is
yes,
crazy.
I went in there, shot it, went to the stage, shot that, and then started reading more and more and really getting into it. And that's when I eventually went to the train station, which is one of Detroit's most iconic buildings, abandoned buildings. And it's not abandoned anymore. It's been rebuilt. But like, yeah, I did that one. And then like the Packard plant, which was like Detroit's famous automotive industry abandoned ruin, so like we started to do stuff like that. And like I'm with my girlfriend at the time, so she was my original first partner. And it's crazy because I remember going into the website Forgotten Funk, going into the index of new spots that he had posted, and I popped up an article of the rape of Jane Cooper. And what that article, and I talk about this in the documentary too, the rape of Jane Cooper, as terrible as a word as that is, it's about how Detroit public schools was so corrupt and had been embezzling all this money, and like they were broke and were on the verge of going into bankruptcy and emergency financial management, which did happen, by the way. But anyways,
Oh, wow.
the school had left, they had left the school unsecured, unalarmed, and it had gotten scrapped within months, completely decimated.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
in an industrial wasteland area off the east side, off of Van Dyke and Harper, off of Georgia, and it was bad. It was crazy how fast they had scrapped this place, and it's all neighborhood dudes coming in and scrapping the shit.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's
he had
insane.
done, he had done this article. So I was like, I got to go shoot Jane Cooper. So I remember running over and shooting Jane Cooper, and then anytime he would post a building, I would go shoot that, go in and shoot the building, and like, so that's really when I became hooked. Was that would have been, I think, early '09. So for that first year, '08, March '08 to probably March '09, I was exploring, but I was not
Doing
out
the
every
thing.
weekend. Yeah, like not in '09. That's when I started going hard. And that was also because at that time, my buddy had given me Nick. I don't know where he is. I heard he relapsed, but Nick was one of a good friend of another friend of mine. I didn't even know Nick that well. Him and George, rest in peace, they came to see me. George was somebody that was a mentor of mine. He had gotten clean 20 years before me. He was like one of those sponsors in AA and NA.
Mhm.
He was like one of them to me. So he came to Detroit because he was born and raised in Detroit and wanted me to take him into the Packard plant. So
Mm.
I did it, and he brought his friend Nick along. Nick was an art student, a photography student. Nick pulls out a Nikon D80. I think it was a Nikon D80. We're talking 2009. I think this was '09, and gave it to me. Gave it to me. I was still using my mom's
Aw.
point and shoot camera.
Oh my gosh.
So by '09, I now had a DSLR.
I love that both the cameras you ended up with were given to you also. That's
That's,
like
yeah,
you're
it's
you're a
wild.
lucky dude.
Wild to think about. Because had that not happened, I don't. Not only would I not have the quality of images that I do have from back in those days, but I don't know if I would have been so motivated or got into it, because then I started to become a photographer in a sense of
Yeah.
learning the hobby and learning it. Because before that, you'll see like some of my photos are terrible from like '08 to '09, and like some of them, like my buddies were I used to go out with another dude sometimes, and he would literally teach me and like almost take my photo for me,
I see. Yeah.
so like,
No,
yeah,
that's another lucky advantage too though, because I've talked to Leland about that, and I'm just like, I'm just out here, I'm an iPhone girly because I will break a camera in less than a minute if I try to take it exploring, so I'm like, "I'm gonna need you to somehow teach me your ways, but for a cell phone." And he was like, "Oh,
yeah,
no
right.
problem." He was like, "No problem, I still got you." And I was like, "Okay, but by that I mean take the pictures for me and then just let me put my name on."
I know that's what was
Yeah,
happening to
p
me in
people be
those
like,
early.
"Damn, Courtney, what the fuck happened? You got a master class?" Like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
no
Yeah, the
kidding, right?
master took it.
Take advantage of that. But I get that. I do. People do that all over now. They phones only. They don't even have. I go out with my boy Evan. That's my dude. He don't even have a camera.
Mhm.
He's all cell phone, iPhone
Same.
all day
And mine's
long.
not really because, like, I don't know, I never call myself a photographer. I would, like, love to be the kind of person to wanna learn how to do it on a camera and get into all the different settings, all the different ways, and all the things.
Sure. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm way like I said, I'm way too accident prone. I don't even want someone's I don't even wanna be gifted a camera. Like, I've put that out in the universe enough. Do not everyone, don't even think about it. Don't gift me a camera, don't give
You're
me
not
one, don't buy me
interested.
one for Christmas. No, because 'cause I'll damn break it. I will
Yeah,
break it. And I like to be more hands-free also. Like, I just don't wanna have anything on me. I hardly like having my phone on me. Like, if it
I
wasn't
get
for
that.
the fact that I wanna remember the place and maybe post it,
Yes, yes. That,
I
no, you're
would
right.
maybe leave my phone in the car, but I don't
That
know.
again, that shows your love though and passion for urban exploring and abandoned
Oh, it's
buildings,
just
because
like
you're
my
not doing it
playground.
for photography.
No, that's my
You know,
playground. I just wanna get
that's
out
what I'm
there and
saying.
do and I love it, and I like the riskiness of it and the mystery and I don't know,
Yes.
the dirtiness of it. I like all of it. Like, I
I
don't
love it. Oh God. I'm about
I
to go
really
explore. You're making me want to go out here and explore now.
do. I know. You can't start talking about it too much without wanting to get out.
I know. I
Um
guess that's natural.
So you leave Detroit a lot. Do you leave Michigan a lot or do you
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
within? Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Is
I
there
leave
like
Michigan a lot. Yeah, I do.
is
Like if I do day trips. So what's nice about being in Detroit is that so I can do day trips, right? Which is leaving early in the morning, whether it's 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then getting back at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., right? You
Gotcha.
can do Chicago. So so nice. Detroit, you can get to Chicago in 4 hours. So you can do day trips to Chicago. You can do Indiana, Gary, Indiana, or Indianapolis, 4 hours, right? You can do all the Ohio cities. Cincinnati is the furthest, I think, at 4 hours. And Cleveland's only like two and a half. Youngstown is like three, right? And then you got Columbus at 2 hours. So like Toledo's an hour, something like that. Yeah, so like all the Akron, Canton, 2.5, 3 hours. And then Pittsburgh, you can do Pittsburgh in about 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And then you can do Buffalo, New York if you cut through Canada in 4 hours, which
Oh
I
my
do
gosh.
because I have an enhanced license and a passport. So I can just go right through Canada and go right to Buffalo and get there in 4 hours.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
so you're
crazy
pretty
because we have
lucky.
all of that I can do in a day.
Have you explored a lot in Canada at all or no?
No, nope.
Yeah.
Only a few things. I did like a funeral home there and tried a jail once there. Didn't get into it, but I've started to recently do more Canada stuff and get into some Canada stuff. There's a location. I don't really want to say it because I don't want to
I don't
pop it
blame
out.
you.
But like, yeah, I have now just started to focus on Canada for the first time. I was never really about Canada. I just felt like nobody cared about Canada, I guess. Or even though I'm
I just
right, it's
was
right,
curious because I never really thought about it before, so now I'm like, I wonder what the hell's in Canada.
and it's right.
Cool.
It's 5 minutes from me, and Windsor's right across the river. So
That
like,
is
it's
insane.
right there, right? And Windsor has a jail, and that was the jail I was talking about, and a hockey arena right there. So like, I've done some things like that as it's right across the river. But as far as like going up into the Northwest Territories, yeah, right, like I'd ever do that. But Saskatchewan and Ontario is really where most of Canada's abandoned locations are at, or Montreal, like Montreal all the way to Toronto, London, Windsor. You start
Gotcha.
going north of that, you're all rural. You start going west of that, where because you were from Seattle or you
Mm,
lived in, so like Northwest Territories and
yeah.
Saskatchewan and Calgary and
Yeah.
Vancouver. Like there ain't much up there.
No, I was gonna say can't be.
Yeah, it's really nice too. Like Vancouver's beautiful, and
Do
Calgary
you
too.
do you have, like, a place that you love to travel to outside of Michigan or Detroit?
Oh man, yeah, man. I love a couple of cities are just call my heart. Like in a big general area, the South always calls my heart. Like I love the South. I explore the South more nowadays than I ever have. And it's not only just to get out of the cold elements during the winter time, because I've come to the South during the summer too. But as far as like actual cities would go, I love New York City. And when I say New York City, I mean the borough. Like I'm talking Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx. And the reason why I love New York City is because there's so much there that is unseen. And you do not see people exploring New York City. I have a really close friend. Shout out to Fun Damien. That's my boy. He lives in Brooklyn, or he moved to Queens. But anyways, yeah. So I'll go stay with him. We'll hit some stuff that everything I do is like never even seen this stuff, never seen this, right? And it's a challenge because New York City is very gridlocked. It's all like close quarters.
Yeah, I was
Everything's
gonna say
up,
it's gotta be hard. Yeah.
everything's up and not out, and buildings have alleyways are the only way you're going to get to them. And guess what? You can't access the alleyway because of all the riffraff and people that they go going, bums, crime, all that. So
Yeah.
like you
I
have
would be
alleyways.
terrified.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild. But but the crazy thing about New York City is the cops care. The New York's NYPD will be at a bando way quicker than Detroit police,
Wow.
way quicker, and care a lot more. So it's a challenge. It's risky and it's rewarding in at the same sense. Same with Chicago. I love Chicago. I always have, but not to that extent because Chicago, you don't have the gridlocked,
Yeah.
like New York City, where everything is gridlocked. Chicago is challenging. Again, you have a lot of crime and homelessness and things like that, which always secures buildings because owners don't want them going in there and stealing and all that.
Exactly.
So Chicago's love, but like Pittsburgh has probably always been one of my favorite cities. Um, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Philly are probably my three outside of Michigan, three favorite cities to explore because of how chill and how laxed and how I feel like it's very almost close to how Detroit is. And I can feel like I'm at home exploring those cities. Pittsburgh has always been rewarding to me and not a challenge. Not that you're always challenged, but like you don't have to be on point like you do in New York City.
Yeah.
You can let your guard down a little bit when
Mm.
you're in Pittsburgh, and Cleveland a little bit. Philly, you still have a lot of bullshit, riff raff, all that. You got to kind of be on
I
point,
can
but that
imagine.
that city's also very, very rewarding with tons and tons of bandos that people do not hit.
Wow. Do you
Yeah,
think it's because of the risky elements around them, though? That's why those places get hit a little bit less, because not as many people are, like, willing to,
I think it's the same. Yes, I think that's part of it, but I also feel like a big part of it is how urban explore. Because that same thing holds true for a lot of the stuff I do. There are so many Detroit spots or Metro Detroit spots that I have that I could show you that fuck nobody ain't. You will never see that shit on. Same with Chicago. Same. So like that urban exploring today is driven by social media mostly
yeah.
and word of mouth.
Mhm.
So people are hitting a spot, sharing it, right? That's how people get locations. Most people that are in this hobby do not research and
Mhm.
do not look for their own abandoned buildings.
Mhm.
And that comes from they're not comfortable doing that because they're afraid to set off alarms, cameras, building. You got to remember, we're always running from police, alarms, securities, dogs, caretakers, owners, whatever the hell it is. Like we're always trying to evade some type of security measure
Yeah. No,
in a lot of
totally.
these places. So
Cameras.
they don't feel comfortable and they're not, and they don't want to go to jail and they don't want to get busted, right? So a lot of people just follow the leader,
Mhm.
follow the leader. And that's where you get flavors of the month and all that type of stuff.
I know,
And
but then I hate that too, because I feel like I don't know, the term exploring then needs to be different, or there just needs to be a different term, because I feel like part of exploring is to find the spot. And is to go
agreed,
out and seek it, and, like, I don't know,
nothing
part of
better.
one of my favorite things to do in my free time, if the weather's bad and I can't get out or I'm busy or whatever, I just like to spend hours on Google Maps looking for
Yes.
fucking bandos, like, I'll do that shit until the cows come home. So, I'm like, I don't know, I've never had to ask anyone. I was talking to Leland about this the other day. I don't ask people for spots. I knew Leland had Teacher's House. I knew plenty of people had Teacher's House before I ever got to it. I still found it by myself on Google Maps because I refuse to fucking ask. And I'm like,
I know.
I'll find it when I'm meant to find it, and that's when I'll go. When I'm
I
meant
think,
to
yeah, he
go.
said that about you. Leland said that you have he said check out your IG because you had spots that nobody else had.
Yeah,
Houses
yeah,
mainly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I knew that you
But
did. But
that's
that's
how.
because
It's
you're old
'cause
school.
yeah, I know. But that's exploring to me. Like, I feel like back in 2008, I wish I had the technology as far as, like, being able to map, being able to go back in
Yep.
time and Street View, being able to do all these things, having just the knowledge that I know today to look up things like tax records, like, all the fucking things,
Yes.
So it's like, I
Yep.
don't know. I don't want you to pass me the pen because you were there and you think it's a nice house, because then it already decreases the quality of the explore to me because I didn't explore it. Like, then I'm just
Yes.
showing up and then getting out of the car and doing exactly what you told me to do,
Yeah.
which
It's more
there's a
like
huge
tourist.
advantage. Yeah, and there is a huge advantage. It is safer, but I like
Right.
the risk and I like the
Me
danger,
too.
and that's exploring, So I'm just like, I don't know what to call these other people.
I know, but then you're right because then you have the point where so many people go that it is riskier than an actual other spot that you might randomly find, right? Because you
True.
have so many people coming and going that the neighbors start to pick up on it, and
Yeah,
that's when
or
you
maybe
met
you
like the
don't know if
teacher's
the
house.
owner's been alerted, or yeah, like you're saying, the teacher's house has cameras now, like, all these things can change that are also.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah. But still, I'm with you on the, like, I wanna find my own thing, and that's really it. I just have fun that way, and
Me
I
too.
like it.
Me too.
I don't think it's right or wrong, I just have more fun doing it, and then there's also it makes it way more, like, mysterious because 'cause you're not gonna show up and know exactly how the inside looks because 'cause you've already seen someone's entire walkthrough or gallery of it, like, you get to show up and experience a place for the first time.
No,
So
I think that's exactly what I was thinking about that exact thing, like how, yeah, this is what urban exploring has done and how it's changed and like how now you like almost feel like if you see so many people doing it, you're like, should I even try this? Like, should I even go here? Because what if the neighbors are catching on and like they're setting you up for
mhm.
as soon as you walk in,
Yeah,
like,
and that's another thing. We're around a bunch of untrustworthy people.
right. Exactly. That is a very, very true statement. Yep, that is so true.
Yeah, so that's another element. I meant to ask you, did you think when you started exploring that you'd be doing it for this long? Like, did you know that this was gonna be a forever thing, or did you have any foresight around that at all?
No, definitely not. I think I knew that I think I knew pretty by '09, especially when I got the DSLR and I started to go out every weekend. I think I knew that like I knew it was cool before it was cool, right? Like I knew that urban exploring was something cool, but and something different and something unique. And there wasn't many people doing it back then. But like I did not know that 18 years later I'd still be doing this and not do I mean, I go now, I go just as hard as if not harder than I used to go back then, right?
Mhm.
And I'm over 40 now and like I'm still doing crazy shit, like staying up all night and like like I November last year we stayed up on all night to do a prison. And I was up for actually 3 times last year I stayed up for 48 hours doing
Oh my
spots.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On road trips just to be able to get these spots. And most of them are prisons because you have to be there early and you have to kind of feel it out and like so like I did not oh, and then that's another thing, uh, is that what I definitely did not know is that this would become a way for me to make money, and not only that, but just be able to travel the country and the world now. But I was a skateboarder before my heroin heydays, right? I was a skateboarder. So I wasn't professional by any means, but I was good. So like I traveled with skateboarders and my team and like we went out all over the country, but we went out to California and I remember thinking, wow, I would never be able to experience this stuff if I wasn't a skateboarder. And I started skating when I was 15 and retired when I became a heroin addict. So I only skated for about 6 years because I was full blown by 21. So yeah, 6 years maybe throughout my high school and like a few years after that. But that's what I did. I lived skateboarding. I would skateboard every day. I'd travel. I'd do all this stuff. So now that comparison comes back with urban exploring. How like I never thought that skateboarding would take me to these places. I certainly didn't think urban exploring would. I was only focused on Detroit. I wanted to be the best urban explorer in Detroit and the person that had the most locations in Detroit, right? This was like pre fucking social media. This is my thinking. Like, I just want to do this and do everything that I can and do all these abandoned buildings that I can to document them and have them. But then I can remember my buddy that I explored with back then would show me stuff in like Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, even Ohio. Oh no, I ain't doing that. Michigan, stuff in Pontiac, right? Half hour from. No, that ain't Detroit. I am not trying to do that. I am
That's
not.
so
I
funny.
only explore Detroit, and then from there it grew to Metro Detroit, and then from there it grew to Michigan, and then
You
from
just
there it grew
baby
to
steps.
yep. Then it grew to the Midwest. Then it grew to the Midwest and the East Coast. Then it grew to the whole country, and now it's the entire world. Right? I've been to
Mhm.
8 different countries.
Wow.
It's
For
why.
exploring?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. I
That's
got
crazy.
videos on YouTube of Italy. We've been Italy, France, Germany. I went to Poland. I went to Czech Republic. I went to Austria. I went to Hungary,
Wow.
um, and Belgium. And we were supposed to go to Portugal and Spain, but my friend, Sketchy, his dog ended up getting very sick. We were just supposed to go right at the end of the year last year. Couldn't make that happen because his dog ended up getting very sick.
Oh,
So we had to
no.
postpone that. But yeah, but so 8 countries in, and And like that's crazy because I never thought that I'd ever see that, right? I never thought that I'd ever go to France or Germany. And in fact, there was three bucket list items that I had had on my list for years that I checked all three of them off when I went to last time I went to France, which was in, I think that was 2024. But we went to the first thing, oh, and we went to Hungary. So the power plant, I don't know if you know, the most famous power plant in the world,
Mm-hmm.
Budapest, right,
Mm-hmm.
has the glass ceiling power control room
Yeah.
with the dome, the glass dome.
Yeah.
I had seen that when I first started exploring. Like I said, many years ago, I was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" But I'm never gonna see that, right? I'm never gonna be able to see that. That is just so cool, especially Hungary. I remember thinking like, I don't even know where the hell that is. All I know about Hungary is I'm fucking hungry right now. So like, I was able. We went there and explored it, and I saw it. And then from there, I went to, so that was when I went to Hungary. So that was the same trip, I think, because we ended up driving back. Yeah, because I think we flew into Paris or Charles de Gaulle. So then we went back to Paris and we went to the Eiffel Tower. And I'm like, that's a bucket list item. I've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. And I got to do that. And then the last thing that I got to do, which was my favorite, I got to drive on the Autobahn. I've always said like I've lived my life like I drove drive on the Autobahn. Life in the
Mhm.
fast lane. My dad was always like you can only live once, you know. So that line of thinking's gotten me into a lot of trouble.
Same here.
Yeah, because like
Very YOLO
especially
energy.
yeah, right. Especially with drugs, because I'm like, okay, you can only live once, right? So let's fucking do this shit. But um, I remember I was not careless on it by any means. Like Fran will tell you, like I drove the entire time. He didn't drive it. I think I drove that one trip we did out there, 6,000 miles, all by myself.
Holy
We
crap.
were we were in Europe for like 2 weeks on the road.
Dang, that's insane.
It was almost too long. It was the only point in my entire urban exploring career where I've actually gassed out. I'm like, I'm done.
You're
two
like, I have
weeks
no
on
more
the road.
left. Yeah.
Fuck no. And driving 6,000 miles, like it was
Driving will take it
wild.
out of you.
It
Like
will
that
wear
kind of,
you out.
yeah.
Wear you out. But driving on the Autobahn, I got it up to like 120. Uh, I'm going 120 just for a little bit. And like these this crazy. It's all German engineering over there. So it's all Audis and BMWs and Mercedes
Volkswagen.
just flying by me at 120. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
and then you realize that, like, and then I read, I'm like, how dangerous is it? It's like Autobahn is actually one of the safest expressways or whatever, because the people that go that fast know what they're doing and all this kind of, there's all these studies about it. And I wasn't comfortable. I backed off and stayed doing like 80, right? Like
Mhm.
American. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
want-
going American fast, which is
That's right. I love urban exploring, but I don't want to die doing this. Like I'm like all
no,
about it. But it was
especially not
great.
on the way to the bando.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and we're in Germany
That's
and
a
like
different kind of thing. Yeah,
and you're from Germany?
uh-huh, yeah, German's my first language, actually, so I didn't speak any English till I was 9.
So were you born in Germany?
I was born here, but my parents divorced when I was, like, 2 months old, and then my mom, who's all German, she took me with her when my parents divorced, so she was like, "We're going back to Germany," and then I stayed there till she remarried another American, and then, we went to Washington for the first time, and then it was just, like, this weird teeter-totter between Washington and South Carolina. We just kept going back.
Wow. So like your first few years of your life or I guess adolescent or were over
Mhm,
in Germany then? Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So that's why. Where in Germany?
In Trier, which is, like, the oldest city in Germany. It's, like, 2 hours outside of Frankfurt.
Okay. Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to I really liked Bremen.
Mhm.
Really liked Bremen. Bremen was where we bought some weed off some dude like just like all at a traffic light like I don't even smoke like that. Like I'm clean and sober and shit over here. But like Fran, like my boy, like he is like all day, right?
That's how
So
I am
he's
too.
like
I'm like,
fiending.
don't let me leave the house without weed because 'cause I'll
Yes,
murder someone
right.
for real.
He's like, oh, dude, these guys are playing rap music next to us. He's like, ask them if if they'll sell me some weed. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro? I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I'm like, hey, roll down your window, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, 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 pull over.
Oh my
Turns
god, I
out,
cannot believe that worked. That's a
crazy. The first person we asked,
that's a good
and
distinguish.
they had it on him.
He's like, they're playing rap music. They have it.
That's exactly what he did. Yep. I said, damn, bro, you could fucking tell. And he's like, I can spot a pothead a mile away because he's a pothead. I'm not. So like, but it was
He has a
wild. They're like,
radar. He has a
they get
radar for it.
they get in the car. There's two of them. They get in the back seat and they're like, y'all cops? And Fran looks at him. Now, Fran, Sketchy Johns, that's my YouTube partner. He's tattooed, fucking neck, hands, arm, full. He's like, oh, with all these tats, do I look like a fucking cop? This guy's like, nah.
I mean, these days,
I know,
you never
especially
really know.
undercover. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
undercovers or
Yeah.
informants, right? There's always informants too.
Yeah,
But
you
no, they
never
were cool. They were cool as shit. It's
That
just
is
a why.
pretty well, there's a pro tip on how to find weed in Europe, I guess.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Those are random dudes on the street corner playing rap music. That's how they know that's like their open sign.
Yes, that's right. Play this
Ready.
rap music and we'll get Americans over here and we'll make some money off this.
The music is key though. If it's just random dudes standing on the street corner,
Gotta
it's
be
not
rap.
it.
Gotta be
It's
rap
not it.
music. Gotta be rap and it's gotta be loud. Gotta be
It's gotta be at a certain decimal.
gotta be loud. That's right. That's right. So crazy to think about that, man. It's just like I still feel like though, as much as I travel and as much as like this has taken me all over, like I said, all over the world, I've traveled every corner of America too, from Maine to Florida to California to Texas to Wisconsin, but I have never done Washington State or Oregon. I've just never. There's stuff out there. Yes, it's not obviously a lot, but there's a few things out there. Like I really, really want to do. I think one of your questions was, "What's the spot you really want to do the most, or something?" What
Mhm.
dream
Love
spot?
it.
What dream
Yeah,
spot? McNeil Island for sure. Like I want to do McNeil
that's
Island,
pretty
which was
cool.
the federal penitentiary island, just like Alcatraz, right? Like, yeah, and it's abandoned. It's actually abandoned and fucking really, really sketchy. Like I know somebody that's done it and like kayaked. Fuck, dude, this the story they told me about doing this place. I'm like, oh my god, dude, I'm not about to do that, but
That's
I would
next
love to.
level.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
very, very next level, and you're almost got. You better just expect to get busted.
Well, there's an element of being on an island and you having to kayak to it or get there in any other fashion than a car, which is the only way you
Yes,
can then escape quickly. If you
true.
know what I mean? So I'm just like, I don't know how I'm gonna look trying to scurry across the fucking ocean in a kayak or across a lake or
Yep. And then they're gonna watch you, and they're gonna go, okay, he's going over there. We're gonna have cops waiting for you over here.
exactly. So I'm just like, I
You
don't
gotta stay
know.
in the water, like in the middle of the water, like what the hell? I don't know what to like. We kayaked once,
Turn
twice.
yourself
No,
in.
we kayaked to a casino boat in Iowa.
Hmm.
Dubuque, Iowa used to have a casino boat. I don't even think it's there anymore. This was like 2020, 2021. We have a video on Abandoned Central on the YouTube channel about it. And you'll see us get on rafts, right? In fact, my boy Nick, he's on a fucking swan, a blow up swan, a big swan. And we're in rafts. We're in actual like
This has
rafts.
to
But
go down into some record about like the best way to get to the band.
yes. Yeah, because he was like a third wheel. So it was just gonna be Fran and I, and then he's like, I want to go, and we're like, we don't have a raft for you. And he's like, I got this swan I can use. We're like, all right, cool. So in the video, you will see him on a swan.
This is too much.
It's so
I'm
funny.
obsessed.
It is hilarious. Like I have a picture of me extending my oar out to him to get him on shore. Like because he couldn't carry his gear on. We had his gear in our boats, our rafts. So like he's just like on his belly getting wet. And
I'm
and Nick's huge. Nick's like not fat, but like he's just a big dude. He's like 6'2",
I'm
220.
dead.
Dude is a monster. So
This
like it's
is
like
act this is one of the best stories ever.
so funny. Oh my god, I love that stuff. I just love it.
What in the hell? I didn't think I was gonna hear that today.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually didn't think I was ever gonna hear something like that. That's pretty great. I don't know if anyone's gonna top that story
that's
for,
a
like,
good one.
entrance.
Yes, and like I just forget about half the stories I started writing them down recently in my phone because I have so many, and people are always like, "Oh, I want to hear stories." I talk about the superhero chasing me out of the Cass Tech High School, or the arrests, or the schizophrenic giant in University Club, like all these things that I had to deal with.
That all sounds crazy.
It is wild, like this
It
shit.
sounds like you're explaining like a chapter in like fucked up Harry Potter or something like.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's like a movie too, because like it was like my first experience with like dealing with Detroit
You're
street
like the
people.
schizophrenic giant. I'm like, what is that? A character in a movie?
I swear to God, he was a character, and like this dude was a monster. His feet were like size 16, and like you like hear his feet coming, and he like
Is this
drag
a
one
real
foot.
person or did this happen when you were like shooting up dope one time?
No, this was a real person. This is like during my Urbex career. This is at
Okay.
University
Feel like
Club,
I
which
was
is one of
teased. Okay.
Detroit's best locations. And like this guy lived and squatted in the University Club, and he had a room in there. And he would, on his door, he would have, I have pictures of it. Do not bother me. Do not open this door. Keep out, all that stuff on his door. So like one
So that
time we
means
had
you
go.
opened it.
No, I knew not to, because people had always told me when they did that this dude would chase you and get
Oh,
pissed,
okay, so
right?
you knew about it. Okay,
I
I got
knew
you.
not to mess with it. However, he still hurt either my buddy Kurt. This would have been 2011, I would say, or 2011, 2012. And I'm with my buddy Kurt, who's not an urban explorer by any means. I'm just taking him with me because he's my buddy. And either he opened the door or took a photo of the door, or he was right outside the door. Dude hurt him. So next thing I know, Kurt's coming down, and he didn't realize it, but we're like in the main area, and all of a sudden we hear like a big, huge yell, like, like what
Oh,
the
oh
fuck was
no.
that? Immediately, I was like, that's the schizophrenic giant, bro. We gotta go now. We hear like
Like an urban
giant
legend.
You know how like Jurassic Park has the water like in the cup, and it starts like
Like shaking
vibrating?
or yeah.
Yeah, because the T-Rex is coming.
That's
That's how
awesome.
this was, man. The floor was like shaking and moving, and you could hear him stepping, and like, cause he like drags one foot. Like, oh my
Oh
God.
my
And this dude
god.
is so
It's
big.
so creepy.
And so we get out, and we had to climb in a window. So like we get out, and we were in my car. I get out first. I help Kurt get out. We run to my car. By the time we get to my car, he's running at the car with a giant stick in his hand, and he's got it up above
Oh
his
no.
head like he's gonna hit us with it, right?
Oh hell no.
So I'm like, get in the car. He stands in front of my car and hits my car with the stick. I'm like, dude, this dude's gonna break my
No.
window. So I put it in reverse and like backed up, and he started like running after the car. So then I just went forward and went all the way around him, and then took off. True
Oh
story.
my
Kurt'll
god.
Kurt'll back that up all day. God, I haven't told that story in a minute. Yeah,
That
that's
is terrifying.
so Now this guy was, I'm not kidding, probably 6'5", and like skinny, but the feet were just huge, and he was muscular. It wasn't like he was a crackhead. This dude was not ripped, but not he was skinnier, but just so tall and so like aggressive.
Oh my
And like,
god.
yeah, shit, crazy stories about this guy. Other explorers that ran into him, Nailhead,
Oh,
Survival Crackers, they'll tell you about
I
him.
would never even go in that building if I knew this man
It's
was there.
gone. They demolished it years ago, but yeah.
Oh my god,
And
that's
then he moved
insane.
into, listen, this is crazy too. So then, God, I haven't thought about this in forever. So then there was a building down the street from the University Club on East Jefferson that was apartment building. It might have been a hotel originally because it was big. But it's been abandoned for years. It had been abandoned ever since I started urban exploring. So and we're talking the same year. This is maybe a year after, no, because they demolished University Club in 12, I think. So it would have been about a year after, maybe 2 years. We go into this apartment building because we want to shoot the lobby, because the lobby had some architectural details. So we were like, all right, let's and I think they were about to start to tear it down. So we fucking go to this abandoned apartment building, which was just a couple blocks from University Club, and we go down into the open window, and immediately I saw a pair of shoes that were like size 16, and
Oh
they were
no.
like newer with a squat set up.
And you were like, I know who this
He,
is.
it's him. It's him. He's here. And I
He's
think if
here.
he was there. So yeah, so like he wasn't in there when we did it. We did it and we left. But when we left, he was coming up. So we left. And I remember he didn't really look at us or we didn't interact with him. That was me and my boy Zach at the time. It's crazy how I can remember this. But we were both like, that's the schizophrenic giant. There he is right there. So he had moved down the block because they had demoed the University Club.
He wanted to be the mascot of a new place. Oh, man.
Crazy though.
That is
Crazy.
crazy. I would forever have avoided any building they told me he was in, like, there's no way.
Yes. Oh yeah, I never went back there. Nope. 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 Nope.
There's
Nope.
no way. There's no way.
No way. Nope. I was not dealing with that. Especially when he aggressively hit my car with the stick. He would have hit us with that stick, no question. And this was not
Yeah,
like a twig. Like this was like a
trying to switch
huge
off their
branch.
tree.
Like I think he scratched my car with it when he hit it.
Dang. Yeah, no. He was and you don't know, like, if he's really schizophrenic, you don't know what kind of, like,
Yep.
mental state he's in or what he's
Exactly.
even thinking he's doing. He may not even
Yep.
be aware of himself enough to know,
Yeah,
so
exactly. And I'm sure he
uh-uh.
was doing drugs. Although I don't think he was a crackhead per se, but I'm sure he was doing drugs and whatnot. But definitely unmedicated mental illness all day.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
paranoid all day. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and how can you not be really? Because even if you were normal in an environment like that long enough, I think you'd be paranoid after a bit.
exactly. And you got people coming in all the time to fucking do
Yeah,
whatever
and
they
you don't
want.
know when someone's gonna come invade your privacy, if they're gonna
Yes,
read the sign, if the sign's an
exactly.
invitation to some people, like all this
Yep,
shit.
that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's very true. There's another guy when I first started in the book depository. I talk about this story in the documentary. So the Detroit Public Schools book depository was a warehouse in Detroit next to the train station that was literally filled with old, outdated textbooks
Mm,
from Detroit Public Schools.
okay.
They would just dump them. And this where Detroit, I would tell you, Detroit was nuts back then. And it still is, but before, like, this city went bankrupt. This city has some crazy history to it. Like, we're the only city that's like gone bankrupt. We had the rise and fall of the auto industry that crashed and needed a bailout. We had huge political scandals with the gangster mayor Kwame Kilpatrick going to prison and like all this stuff, right? Trump pardons him, like crazy stuff. But like Detroit Public Schools notoriously embezzled millions of dollars from this public school system and ended up getting caught. And a bunch of people went to prison. They were stealing dead people's paychecks, all sorts of shit, right?
Wow.
For years, they were getting away with it. So, buying supplies for the schools and then selling those supplies on the black market,
Oh my god.
awful shit. Taken from the kids. Like, what the? But,
That's insane.
anyways, yeah, it's crazy. So, like, this was crazy because they would dump the school textbooks instead of, like, I don't know, recycling them or reusing them or whatever. So then they just rot. And then you know what people would do. They'd break in there and set them on fire and
All
whatever.
kinds of
So,
shit.
like,
Yeah.
this guy though was a homeless guy, and I'm sure he was a little mentally ill, but I never really interacted with him. But I saw him like once or twice. But he had a corner of the book depository. There was like 3 floors, I think. This is the same building where they found hockey players. The basement would freeze with water. It was flooded, so it would freeze the basement, and people, suburbanites, I don't want to say white people, but yeah, white people would. It's a white person thing, right?
Dumb
They
white
would go in
people.
and play hockey. They'd play
Mhm.
ice hockey
Oh,
on
wow.
that, and we're talking about if they fall through that ice. Not only is that some nasty water, but it's deep.
Yeah.
So, but they're playing ice hockey, and this is right when I first started exploring. I think 2008, and they found a dead body of a homeless dude frozen in the ice with his legs sticking up. out of the ice. And there's a photo of it. If you Google that and read about it,
Oh my
anybody that I
God.
think there's a photo you'll find online that they ended up taking of it. And then the police came and got the guy out. Yeah, and it was true. It's a true story. So that happened at that same building. So like after that happened, they tried to secure it and lock it down, and eventually cleaned out the textbooks because that's why they knew people would go in there to take photos. And then this guy had been living in there because he had taken a corner of the upper floor where all the books were and made a house out of the books. So he had like rooms. He would use the books for the walls,
Oh my
and he'd
God.
have like hallways to a room. And then down the hallway would be the living room, right? And he'd have the bedroom with the sleeping
That's
bag and
crazy.
crazy. And I have photos of that too. And he had a sign just like the schizo giant at the University Club. Uh, Please keep out. This is my space or something, like that.
Wow, interesting. I
Very.
mean, that's very innovative if you think about
It
it.
is, right? Like I
Like,
know
you
that
missed
took
your
some
calling
time.
as an architect, sir. What's going on?
Probably was an architect at one time.
That's crazy.
That
That
is
sounds like some
crazy.
shit I would do if I ended up, like, needing to turn a place into a house that was hoarded with books. I'd be like, "You know
Yes.
what? These books are
Yep.
about to be my furniture. I'm about to have me a couch, a
I
bed,
know.
say less, a table, like."
Right, right. And that's why I feel like Fran and I, Abandoned Central, like we've been talking about doing what you're doing and like doing some podcasting, or if not podcasting, doing some type of videos where we're just telling stories and talking, shooting the shit.
Yeah, so interesting.
Because what I can do is throw photos up, right? Show, hey, here it is, right? Like, or video, right? I have a lot of video. So like here's a video of this, right? So you have the receipts to go with the story.
Mhm. Yeah, that you totally should. That's so
I know
interesting.
it's interesting, right?
Especially because I can only imagine, like, the just a few stories you told me just now are crazy, so I can
Right.
only imagine, like, the novel you could write about all the stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And even if like it doesn't relate to the story, like I told you about the university giant or university club giant schizo chasing it, like I could at least then show you photos of the university club or whatever,
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
get the
totally.
visual.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so crazy. I love that guy, though. He's like a mascot for an abandoned place.
So funny. That's crazy. I hope he's still
Uh,
around.
I know, I was gonna say, I'm sure you wonder what happens to people
I
like
do.
that
I
often. Yeah,
do.
I do
I
too.
do. Yep,
Um,
for sure.
do you have, like, a favorite type of place that you like to explore, like, building-wise, like school,
For
hospital, or
sure.
some yeah, what is
For
it?
sure. Like I would say people that know me, funeral homes are something that I chase. I chase the funeral homes all around the country because they are creepy, right? And I've always been interested to the more darker side of things, like the hospitals and the morgues,
Mhm,
prisons, jails,
mhm.
stuff like that. That's creepier, gives you vibes, and like you can pick up on energies and stuff like that. But like, I've loved funeral homes. When I first explored Detroit, when I first explored the Detroit funeral home, which was the first funeral home I did, which was Howell, I found cremated remains. I found like a dozen boxes of cremated remains. This
Wow.
would have been 2010, I think. It would have been like 2010. And I photographed those remains, right? So it was so interesting to me that those could still be in there, right? This place had been closed at that point, I think like 10 years. And
Wow.
like the whole place is fucking shit. It's shit boxed. Scrappers, squatters, all that. But upstairs there was also some gravestones, and the old visitation room didn't have a casket, but it had like the floral arrangements, and like I just remember thinking, this is creepy and this is so wild that there's cremains in here, right?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of started me on the whole funeral home thing. And then what really happened was Cantrell Funeral Home in Detroit, which is in the documentary as well. And it's really notorious, actually across the country and even across the world, where they left all of these mummified infants in the ceiling above, in the drop ceiling in the funeral home.
What?
And they got shut down for deplorable, unsanitary conditions. And he had been stealing money and all sorts of things, right? So I went in and explored it in August of 2018. They got shut down in April of 18. They didn't find those infant mummies. They were mummified infants in boxes in the drop ceiling. They didn't find those till October of 18. So when I explored it and did my video, which is on
Those
YouTube,
were in there.
They were in there. They were upstairs. And I can remember being in that area of the funeral home and it smelled awful. It smelled like death. And I'm just thinking, okay, that should,
Oh,
and
that
now it
is
all kind of
crazy.
makes sense, right? Yeah. So it's, and then when they found that, just on top of the story of how it was already deplorable and unsanitary and the stuff that they were doing, mixing up bodies and all sorts. It's
Oh my
crazy. Yeah,
god.
when she went to go see her brother at the funeral home and open the casket, and she's like, "That's not my brother."
Oh my god.
That's turned out it was somebody else, like this incompetent as hell.
That is insane. That's
Yeah, it's
insane.
really bad. There's one in the South that was funeral homes in the so
Yeah, I know
Detroit
which
had
one you're talking about, yeah.
so okay, so like yeah, they had there's funeral homes. Detroit has had a few over the years. We don't really. They had Perry too, which Perry Funeral Home is also another video we did. We just dropped that last year. That one they had found 80 something fetuses, and yeah, crazy. They shut them down, right? So, and guess what?
Holy crap.
In my video, you will see me find the evidence box, and in the evidence box, it still has the evidence tape with the date of the raid where they came in and raided the place with evidence of all of the fetuses and like the records,
Oh my
and I
goodness.
show it in the video. I blur out the names, but like you'll see the actual evidence and like they left that in there.
That's crazy.
Crazy as hell.
That
But
is
like down south is where the funeral homes are at. Like most people don't. Oh, I'm going to Massachusetts, Bob. You got any funeral homes up there? And shit?
we're like, "No."
Y'all don't understand. There's not funeral homes everywhere. Like they are
There's not.
hard to find, especially ones that have stuff left in them.
Mhm.
And I'd hate to say it, but it's usually like the rural ones that are the ones that leave things behind, and not the inner city ones,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they for whatever reason they don't get traffic, or they don't. People think that they're just gonna sit and not find them, or they get closed down for some type of reasoning, whether they violated some laws or the owner passes away. Just for some reason, the ones in the South leave a lot of stuff behind. And the
Mhm.
ones up north, East Coast, and definitely West Coast, they don't fucking have anything in them. They're all empty. There's nothing. It's crazy how they're all seem to be centralized within like Florida to the Carolinas to Virginia, maybe over to like Tennessee, and then back down through Georgia, maybe Alabama.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that area is where they're all at. The
Mhm.
good ones, the
Totally
really good
agree.
ones. Yeah.
Totally agree. And I've always been surprised about that too because of the fact that a lot of them still like the embalming room is still intact, all the chemicals are still there. But I think too like if you got to think about if some place shut down for like a reason that's deplorable or something, I
Yep.
can't imagine that they can even do anything with that stuff even for fun.
Right.
Like they can't turn
Exactly.
around and sell any of
Yeah,
that
you
stuff.
might not even be able to sell it, right? Like you might
Yeah.
not, and then they might be able, they
It's like
might,
all
what they do.
contaminated basically at that
Not
point.
only that, but you got to remember that if they got busted for any type of financial embezzlement, which always happens,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of money in the funeral industry, and
Yeah.
that's why people get into the industry
Do
because
that.
they can make
Yeah.
good money, right? And but it's also very easy to take money from the funeral home industry, especially pre-need contracts and stuff like that. So what happens is they fucking get in trouble, and then what they have to do is the police and the investigations, you can't sell any of your stuff because it's all part of the criminal investigation, and they hold it where you can't sell and you can't liquidate your assets and all those things
Mhm.
because you're still going through the courts and whatnot,
'Cause
and
you're
you
in
owe all this.
trouble. Yeah.
Right. So all that stuff is in there. And like, but I don't think also people understand if you go back into my YouTube, even we dropped the doc in 2021. So we've had the YouTube now for like 5 years. If you go back and see how many funeral homes are on the YouTube channel alone, will blow your mind. I don't think people get how many that I've actually done. And those are just videos that I'm posting, not to count the ones that I've done where I can't post, haven't posted, haven't shown. I think I will put money on this. I guarantee if there's any urban explorer out there that thinks they've done more funeral homes than me, challenge me. I will guarantee put you to sleep with the amount of funeral homes that I've done.
Yeah, I bet, I bet. But again, you have the advantage of being here longer
Very
in the
true.
game, you know? And
Very
I will
true.
say The southern ones, except for the super rural ones, but I do think some of the ones that have been around for a little while, I know one specifically, there's some of them that are getting either demoed. There's a couple that have gotten reopened under new ownership and got
Yes.
redone and stuff stuff like that.
Yes.
So, I'm
Yes.
sure too that there's places that aren't even able to be done anymore that you
Very,
can.
very
So,
true. There was
yeah.
one we just did recently, and we dropped the video. And right as we're dropping the video, we realized that they had reopened, and we had just been there. It was that we had gone twice, once the year before because I come every year down there. It was Leland and I, and we go back the second time and shoot it. And within 6 months, they reopened. I couldn't believe they reopened. I mean, the floors were falling through, like it
Oh
was
my god, that's
bad.
crazy.
And yeah, they reopened it. And this is another crazy story. This just happened yesterday too. So I oftentimes when I hit the road, I am obsessive compulsive. Right? I'm an addict, right? So anything that I like to do, I do to such an excess that I normally have to stop doing it.
Yeah, no,
Or
I'm
I
the
will
same
do it to I'll do it to such a point. The only
way.
thing that's going to stop me from doing it is when some form of intervention takes place.
Mhm,
And that's usually by the hands of something that I am powerless over, like the police busting
mhm.
me.
I was gonna
Or
say, yeah.
but what was I getting at anyways? I don't even
Just
remember.
yesterday, something that happened yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm very obsessive compulsive. So I write down before I leave on my trips, my road trips, I will plan out stuff on my whiteboard at work, on my office. I guess you
Which is
could
great.
call it detail focused, where
Mhm.
I'm like all about like planning it out. And of course, it doesn't ever like follow that to a T because you don't get in the spot or you go and it's demolished or you end up sleeping
Yes,
in
some
longer because you don't get any sleep the night before. So like all those things matter, but like I still will always try to map it out, right? So one of my coworkers comes in and she's an older woman, and didn't know much about her. She's really cool, but I figure she's from Detroit, whatever. So she comes into my office and I have all of my trips written out on the board. And she happens to look at it and says, "Oh my gosh." So she sees Kershaw, South Carolina. She goes, "Why do you have Kershaw, South Carolina on your board? Why are you going there?" I said, "You know Kershaw?" I had already gone and come back. So I'd already been. So that was up there from like just like months earlier. I can't really remember. But I said, "Well, there was a abandoned funeral home there." She said, "I'm from Kershaw." I said, "What the what? Really?"
that's
And she
wild.
said, she goes, "Yeah, what funeral home?" I said, "Okay, this one." And she goes, "Oh my God, they buried my family members." So this is crazy. Yesterday, she calls me. I think we talked on through the week at work, and she said, "Oh, guess where I'm going to Kershaw." I said, "Oh, cool." So she texted me yesterday and sent me an actual photo of the funeral home that I did, showing that it had reopened. So
Wow.
they had just reopened too, and the one in
That's
Kershaw
another
was
one. Yeah.
Kirtland Mortuary. So they reopened, and it is fully operational. And I was just like, how crazy is that? That she sent that to me, and I just remembered all that, and it's very very cool. So like,
That is
yeah,
so cool.
yeah, very cool.
That's
Yep,
crazy. Wow.
very crazy. Cause like, what a small world.
That is small. That's pretty small for her. Especially because Kershaw's not that big either, so it's like a
So
random
small.
small town in South Carolina, and she works with you. That's
Yep.
so
Yep,
that
yep,
is
yeah,
so
that is
crazy.
wild. Wild stuff, but yeah, that's just an example. But I love hospitals. I prefer funeral homes probably number one if I would have to choose one, but if not for like any because funeral homes aren't everywhere, like I said. So if I'm not looking for funeral homes, I'm looking for hospitals or jails.
Oh, okay,
Ah,
gotcha.
or police stations. I love abandoned police stations.
I could see that. That mirrors pretty close to a jail for me, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
because
but
usually they have
it's
jails,
yeah, or
you
at least a
know,
cell or 2 or something. Yeah.
and some of them leave everything behind, and those are the ones that I
You're, like,
love.
going through cases.
Oh my God. Like, and I think it all comes from Highland Park Police Station in the documentary. You'll see it where they left knives used in stabbings and like evidence, marijuana, cocaine, like records, handguns, like all sorts of. They left the
Wow.
evidence room.
With
And
everything in it.
and today, still today, I've never. Actually, I have, but I'm not going to talk about that. I've only seen that one other time at one other police. Well, no, two. Two. They had left the evidence room completely full.
Wow.
Guns, drugs, needles, rape kits. I have photos of it with
That's
evidence tags on the
insane.
guns. They demolished it last year. So that's why I'm talking about it.
Do they just keep all that stuff in there when they demolish it too, or
Yeah.
like what? Oh, what?
I'm pretty sure they did. I
That
don't
is
really know, but
insane. That's crazy.
wild, right? Like this is where I want to flash photos of it, right? So I can show you. But like this is like insane because there's a shelving unit, right? And you can see the rifles just all lined up with evidence tags on them and
Wow.
shotguns and like bags of marijuana, like um just fucking needles with heroin in them, like fucked up stuff. People's IDs and credit cards and fraud. There was a bag in the corner. I got a picture of it. It says like cream extension cord. So I open the bag, I rip it open, and it's an extension cord, right? And there's the report. So I pull it out. This extension cord was used in a strangling homicide.
Oh my
And it was sitting in that evidence.
oh my gosh.
Wild, 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 wild shit.
You would think that these are, like, important things for them to
Highland
keep
Park
in
was
some
fucked
sort
up
of
too because
archive. I don't
they
know.
they they left the rape kits in Highland Park too. So like there was a case, a famous case. There was a like Discovery Channel, Investigation Discovery, true crime channels.
Mhm.
They did one of these on this case in Highland Park. And I remember I watched this was a good man. I was living at Cass Corridor at the time, so this is probably a good 15 years ago, 10 years ago. I remember watching it, right? And they talked about, and I watched it because it was Highland Park. Okay, let me see, it's local. Highland Park, if those who don't know, is a city within Detroit. It is a very small city that is just as hood and just as fucked up as Detroit, if not more fucked up. It's
Wow.
very small, but it's surrounded by Detroit. So it's a city within the center of Detroit that is not Detroit, but it is
That's
just as
crazy.
wild, right? They have their own police force and everything. And that
Wow.
is like where the college is, that's all tagged up. There's a couple other things in there. But yeah, that's where the police station, abandoned police, they had an abandoned police station, an abandoned courthouse, and an abandoned fire station, all
Wow.
in the same block. So the courthouse and the fire station are still abandoned today.
Oh, interesting.
They're so hit. They're
They
like
gotta be fucked,
on the
yeah.
verge of collapsing, right? But like, yeah, they're still there. They tore down the police station once they found out all that stuff was in there. Once we started to, not just me, but like other explorers started to post it and things like that. Cause that was a little later of a discovery. That one was like 2011, 2010, 2011,
Wow.
2012. So, but yeah, so they had like this rape kits and this show came on, true crime show, where this poor woman, had been sexually assaulted and murdered. And they could not find the rape kit because it was in the demolished police station.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. How did were they just so
Yeah.
lax about that stuff
Crazy.
being
So they like
there?
go to the site, they built a new fire station on the site and they're like talking about where it used to be. And not on top of that, so in the late 80s or early 90s, Ben Atkins, he was I think it was late 80s, the Woodward Avenue serial killer, Woodward Corridor serial killer in Detroit, Benjamin Atkins, right? He killed prostitutes along Woodward Ave, notoriously. Very famous case. He was in Highland Park at that time. Those were Woodward Ave, Detroit's main artery, goes through Highland Park. And in
Okay.
fact, the Model T plant from Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford, the original Model T plant is in Highland Park.
Okay.
So I think Henry Ford helped establish Highland Park. Highland Park was a very nice, hardworking, middle class city at that time when Ford Motor Company came in. But anyways, Ben Atkins, he's a serial killer. So he fucking They had his evidence. They had, oh my God, unbelievable. You'll see it in the documentary. In fact, I have a video of in the documentary of his murder board where they had his victims named, what year they were found, what date they were found, were they strangled, were they nude, were they sexually assaulted. All like
Oh
12
my
victims.
god.
A huge board sitting in the evidence room.
What the hell?
Yeah,
That is
crazy.
crazy. Did you get photos of that?
Yep.
That's crazy.
I
That's
know. No,
crazy.
crazy as hell.
I mean, that's crazy to be able to document something like that because it's such a notorious thing, you
I
know? It's not just
know.
like
I
any
know.
old random case that no one knows about, like
No. It's, yeah, it's exactly. It's so it's very famous, especially to us Detroiters, that no, but like when it brings me to this one story, like or fact. So when I came back to Detroit to go to school and help people and go to work at the treatment center, I had a couple years clean, and I was going to Wayne State, which is in Detroit, it's a college in Detroit, where I got my master's degree. I moved here. That's why I was coming down Grand River when my mom gave me the point and shoot camera and I did the Grandy Ballroom, because I had moved to Detroit by myself. I had come back to Detroit after leaving. My parents wanted me as far away from Detroit as possible because every time I went to treatment in Detroit, I would leave AMA, against medical advice, and I would go get high because I could not get through the withdrawals or being dope sick.
Mhm.
Um, I was very much hard headed and just a completely different person. I was an asshole back then. So like, and I was a thief and a con artist and all these things. So like, sh- I, I just was like, I got to do this. I got to get better, and I think that's a good idea. So I left the city for 2 years. I came back after being clean, and ended up getting my. People told me not to do it. I think my sponsor was like, "Dude, you haven't been
Oh,
clean long enough."
no.
Yeah, but I did it. I didn't. I was okay, but especially being on my own. So I got an apartment in the Cass Corridor, which was historically, if you Google the Cass Corridor in Detroit, was Detroit's Skid Row, just like LA's Skid Row.
You're just putting
Um,
yourself just dead ass in the middle of everything.
but the treatment center I worked at was across from my apartment,
Mm,
and was helping all those people. So I became, I knew I knew how I needed to be. And how I needed to be was I needed to be reminded of where I come from every day, or else I'll go
mhm.
back. So I needed to see people dope sick. I needed to see people homeless to say that by the grace of God, there go I. I was
Mhm.
there. I've been there, done that. But to back it up, I moved into this apartment building. It was not the best, okay, but I was broke. I was still in school. I was a college student. And I was working at the treatment center. So I was working and going to school. And that was in the Cass corridor. And Cass Avenue is now where Little Caesars Arena was built, which is where the Pistons and the Red Wings play. They used to play at the Palace and the Joe, which are now demolished, which I did explore. But anyways, so the Cass corridor was always prostitution, drugs, guns, violence, homelessness, mental illness, right? And in fact, they used to use my parking lot as a dump site for stolen cars. So Detroit's changed so much now. This is why I'm getting at it. So like a couple years ago, they built Little Caesars Arena and cleaned up that entire neighborhood. And now they refuse to call it the Cass corridor. Now it's Midtown. But
Oh my god, that's funny.
it's still a little bit hood in some areas, but back when I came 20 years ago, well, I guess it was 17 years ago, it was really bad. And I can remember Detroit had skyscrapers, which is just rare now. Where in America do you see a whole city with abandoned skyscrapers? We had
Nowhere.
that. We had that
Wow.
in Detroit. Gary, Indiana had it a little bit for a second, but they weren't even skyscrapers. They were just some downtown. You had like one, maybe a semi-popular skyscraper in Augusta, Georgia, or like you might have a
Yeah.
popular skyscraper in Chicago. But like as a city as a whole, we had like 15 of them. And so I lived in the corridor, which is on the edge of downtown. And within 2 blocks of my apartment, I had the Eddystone, Harbor Light, American Hotel, Cast Tech, and I think there's one more. I guess you could say back then the Masonic Temple was like half abandoned, so would sneak in there and explore that. Oh, you had a diner. There was a diner. Like so, I had like 6 or 7 locations within 2 blocks from my place that I could go walk to and photograph and
That's
explore.
crazy. Dang.
And one of them was the best location ever that I've ever. Still today, I give it. I always say in the documentary, I say it's probably one of my favorite locations of all times. Besides the train station, because of how iconic that is, and like that was one of my first places, right? But like this Cass Tech High School was an 8-story high school, 8 stories with everything left behind.
What?
And there was 3 gymnasiums, 2 auditoriums, and 2 swimming pools.
Holy crap.
In the biology and the science and the music rooms, like everything left. Art rooms full of stuff. The photography room, dark
Oh,
rooms. Oh
oh
my
my
God, it
gosh.
was incredible. And I lived a block from it, so I would go after work or after school. I would go over there and document floor by floor. Every day I would do a different floor. I can remember that it was
Wow.
8 floors, So just crazy how and on top of the skyscrapers and those buildings, I had other things. There was a nursing home. There was a church that was literally almost connected to my apartment building, abandoned church. And I did it.
What?
Yeah, a nursing home across the street, a newspaper company across the street that was abandoned. I did all of that.
That is crazy. And you could walk
It's
there.
Yeah, you could I could look out my window and see them all,
Like,
especially the
parking is
American.
a non-issue, which
Nope,
is the
nope, nope,
best.
nope. It's just unfathomable now to think about that. And in the documentary, I talk about the Dirty Dozen. We had the Dirty Dozen, the notorious or infamous 12 skyscrapers that were abandoned at that time. 12 of
Wow.
them that were not mid rises. We're talking about skyscrapers. If you count mid rises, we probably had about 20.
Were they all, like, empty, or what was
No,
going
not all of them. No, no, there were some that had a lot of stuff in them, like the Broderick Tower, had all the dental shit in it, had all the orthodontic labs in it with all the dentures and teeth moldings and dental chairs.
That
The
is
David,
insane.
it
Dang.
is fucking wild. It was like you were talking about earlier, having your playground. This
Mhm.
was literally, I had my own playground outside my door,
Yeah. You didn't have to
and
go anywhere.
didn't have to go anywhere. And that's why I didn't focus on anything but Detroit at that time. But what I didn't know was just how rare that would be and how unique that was to experience. I don't think you'll ever see that. I don't know if you'll ever see that
No.
again
No.
with all the
No.
gentrification and influx of suburbanites coming back to the cities and the metropolitan areas and
Totally.
stuff. Like it's changed, right? But yeah, that was fucking crazy to think about how that's why people called Detroit the Mecca at that time
Yeah.
for abandonment. If you weren't going to Gary, Indiana, you were going to Detroit. And Detroit had 100, over 100 abandoned schools. Over 100. That's unbelievable to even think about.
Dang. You're like, "Where do kids even get their education there?" 'Cause it seems like all the schools are closed.
Every neighborhood had an abandoned school.
That is crazy as hell.
If you count the parochial schools, there was over 100. Detroit Public Schools alone had 80 something.
Wow.
And
That's
in
crazy.
the opening montage of the documentary, I think Fran includes the news clip of 80 of them vacant schools, like that's literally what was going on. Now they've demolished a whole bunch in recent years. But what I did do was go back to those schools and shoot them again before they tore them down. So I have photos from 2008 or 2009 or 2012. And then I did the same exact photo some 12 years later, 13 years later, right?
Wow.
And I
That's
showcase that. You'll
exciting.
see some of that on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page, which are both Detroit Unseen. You will see a lot of that. I do a lot on my Facebook page, a lot of before and afters, and a lot of Detroit spots where I tell the history. Not so much on Instagram. I really got to get better about that. But yeah, I've really learned to post more on there, and I need to do that with Instagram. But just the crazy how stuff has changed. You can go on Google Maps and go back in time on Little Caesars Arena and go back into
And
'08 or '09 and see just how different that whole area was.
mhm. Yeah.
And it
Well,
was
that's
crazy.
that's what I was saying earlier about the technology advancements and stuff. Because I wish that that was a possibility way back when, we were starting to
I
explore. 'Cause
know.
half the trouble is trying to figure out if something's abandoned around here, especially because in the South, it's like, something can look abandoned all day. That does not mean
Especially houses.
exactly, exactly
Houses
how
are
it is.
scary if you don't know.
Yeah. But,
They could
I'm realizing South Carolina mimics a lot about what you're saying in Detroit about Detroit, but in a different way because a lot of like my friends are like, Courtney, to get you out of South Carolina to explore is like pulling teeth. And it's not that I don't want to or I won't do it because I have, but I have so many unexplored pins on my map still for
for South
just South
Carolina.
Carolina
Yeah,
alone that I'm like, girl, if I explored every single day for hours for the rest of my life, I still wouldn't hit
you
all these
still
spots.
would.
I don't have a reason to really leave, so it's not like I'm not hurting for spots by any means. I got the rest of my life
Exactly.
planned out around here.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and
I
then I
get
get
that.
spoiled too because I can easily map out such a easy day trip and know that I can at least even if there's nothing in them, I can at least check out up to, like, 15 houses, 15
Yes,
spots. Some of them schools, some of them hospitals, it's like wherever if I focus on one town with enough pins, I can have 20 pins on my map for 1 day of exploring, and
absolutely.
my goal is to get as many of those out the way as possible so I can delete some fucking pins off my map, and say, "I've done this, I've seen it, whatever, it's gone." But
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't like and it takes the incentive out of me where people are like, "Oh, let's plan a trip to Tennessee because I have 3 cool spots there," and I'm like, "3?
Yeah. I know,
Cool.
right? No, I want
Call me
13.
when it's 23.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And
And you
then
don't
I'll have
want
incentive."
you want to focus too on like what I do. Like that's why I told you earlier. Like no matter how much I travel, I feel like I still will never slack in Detroit, my hometown.
Yeah.
As much as I pay attention to other areas and all over the world, I'm still focused primarily on Detroit and continue to still look for stuff in the city
Mhm.
and drive by stuff and constantly checking stuff and all that, right? Because this is home and this is what's close to us and this is where we got our start, right? And like all those, and you don't want one of these rookies to beat you to a spot now. That can't happen, right? Like, oh my God,
Not
God
on your
forbid that.
turf. Not
It's
on your turf.
inevitable. It's inevitable nowadays. Like, yeah, there's so many people doing this, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy how like it's just fucking like so mainstream and like how all these kids are doing it, you know?
Mhm. Yep, that's the only downside, and it
Yeah.
does, I think, by its own nature, it creates a competitiveness even for the ones of us that don't wanna be that way, but it does feel a little bit, like, invasive when you know that you've been on your turf for so long and you
Yes.
you know so many things, and then someone's gone and done something that's not even, like, in your area before you could get to it or before you decided to post it, and it's a respect game, you know what I mean? You're like, "I've had this in my archive for 11 years,
Yep.
but because I didn't want y'all to have it and now you do, now you look like the first bitch who posted it, but I was there in
Yep.
2012." Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's very true. And that's happened. There's this one single abandoned school in Detroit that I have not done. And that is the only school that is abandoned that I haven't done in the entire city. I've done every
Why?
single
But
abandoned
why
school
not? Why haven't you
because
done it?
it's an original DPS VPS. And let me tell you what that is. Detroit Public Schools in 2006, 7 ish closed a handful of schools. And when they closed these schools, they brown boarded them. And what that meant was they did, because of what happened with Jane Cooper. So what they did was they started brown boarding them. And that would be where they come through, take out the windows, or if they didn't take out the windows, they covered them in boards. Big, huge brown boards that were pretty solid. Um, I guess to make it look like they were doing something to secure them and also trying to keep people out. But they still weren't alarming them or watching them or having security on site or anything like that, or no cameras, none of that stuff. So by 2010, there was or oh nine, God, it was only like 2 years later, they had another round of closures. And what they decided to do this time was because by the brown boards, people were still getting in and scrapping and cutting the power and vandalizing and
Mm.
trespassing. They decided to spend millions of dollars for VPS. And what VPS is, some people might call it in their city dogs, DAWGS. They are metal panels that go over the doors and windows of an abandoned building, and they're braced from the inside so you can't just rip them off or anything. Like they take some you'd have to do some serious damage and vandalism and property damage to get in just to be able to bypass these things. I've never been able to do it. You'd blow torches and everything. It's crazy. So what they did was they VPS'd these and then went back to some of the one brown boards and VPS'd them.
Oh my
And
God.
these things were on all the doors and windows. You couldn't do anything with it. Well, this one school got VPS'd in 2010. Fairbanks is the name of it. Sits over by Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, and stayed VPS'd through all these years and has never been open. I've seen it like cracked open before. There was one time, this is why I regret not going in. Like I could probably slip in. Somebody had kind of bent up the corner of the VPS by the park playground. So you could slip in a little bit, but I was fatter back then. I was heavier. So I was worried
You're
that
like,
I
not
wouldn't
for
be
me.
I didn't think I'd be able to get out. Like I thought I'd be able to get in, but I was worried about getting out.
Hmm.
So, because there's no way to get out. So
Oh
I
my
didn't do it.
God, then you're stuck. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, so I didn't do it, and then I ended up getting bent back down and reinforced. And I still, to this day, have never seen it open. I don't check it nearly as much as I once did. I used to go by that thing every week to try to get it, and yeah. And then after doing that for so long, I never saw anybody messing with it. I still go by it every few months. I went by it maybe around the holidays. So I'm probably due for another trip over there. But yeah, it's completely. There's not a single window or door exposed.
Oh
And
my
it's been
God.
like that for years. Now, there's other schools that have had complete VPS from head to toe, but scrappers will eventually come in and remove one and then blow them out. And then what happened is in 2012-ish, 2011, maybe 2012, they started to install little cameras, motion sensor cameras that would go to the DPS police. So Detroit Public Schools had their own police force. I talk
Oh
about this
my
in the documentary. They
gosh.
had their own police force. So they were the ones that would respond, not Detroit police. Detroit police, too busy. They got too much shit going on. In fact, in the 18 years I've been urban exploring, I have never once had an encounter or a run in with Detroit police. Is that crazy? But Detroit
That's
public schools,
insane.
that is insane. Like that's the honest to God truth. Nobody can sit here and tell me they have seen me interact or get busted by the Detroit police
That
because
is
it's
actually
never.
crazy.
I know I need to knock on wood. Hopefully that.
I know, I
But
was gonna
Detroit,
say.
Detroit public schools police, totally different. I've been arrested 12 times by them, and in fact, I was on probation for
12
trespassing and got caught trespassing again, and then got caught trespassing again.
times.
In the documentary, I think I say something like, so he told I had to meet with the police chief and everything. Like he's like, stay out of my schools. And I said, okay, I will. And that lasted for about 2 weeks. And I ended up getting busted again. Detroit
You
36th District Court was such a
you
fucking
keep
zoo.
going.
They didn't even know. So they didn't even know that I had gotten busted while on probation. So I went to
What?
court and everything, and I'm like, I'm on probation with a probation officer.
Oh
So
my
like
God.
reporting every month, and I went to court, and I remember my PO walking into the courtroom, and I'm like, oh shit, and like hiding, but he didn't see me. So like I got away with it, and then I got busted again at Southwest High School, and all the judge made me do was community service by taking photographs. So
What?
yeah, it's Detroit's crazy, right?
I'm
So
dead. That's
yeah,
crazy.
That's the only reason I got away with it, though, is because it was Detroit and it was a fucking mess. But Detroit public schools, I got busted so many times that they knew who I was. And they eventually caught me at Grant. And Grant Elementary was where they took me to jail for 2 days, or yeah, I think 2 days in jail. And that was when I really learned that and I didn't break in. That's the crazy thing is, still today, they just hated me so much because they knew who I was.
They were
We
tired of you being a problem,
Girl,
I'm sure.
listen, girl, we would fuck with them so bad. They would, so they had the cameras, right? Now these are
That
silent,
doesn't
so
help.
we would moon them. We'd pull our pants down, moon them. We'd school. So we had a scanner at the time, an actual police scanner connected to their channel. So we would know when they were coming. So we were trying to get them to say, yeah, they're mooning us. Or what we went one time, we went into Karstens and we acted like we were running football drills, right? Like, and then my boy would go out for a wide pat, and my other boy would cover him, and then all fake, no ball in our hand. I'm acting like the quarterback. Then they came, but they didn't say anything. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna get them this time. We're gonna go in and we're gonna ballroom dance. They didn't say shit. They would call it, okay, we got trespass. Now one time they did say, uh, it looks like we have a film crew in the abandoned building.
Oh my god, that's funny. Of
So
course.
yeah, it was wild back. Those were the days. So like I was so crazy hyper focused on the abandoned schools because how many there was, I wanted to get them all. And I wanted to have every one of them done. And they were all alarmed and all VPS'd by this time, and silent alarms too. And I would run in and get it, and then I would go shoot the auditorium. Then I'd run out and leave. And then 2 weeks later, I'd go back to shoot the gym. I'd have to do it in sections because I had to be in and out in 5 minutes before the
That is
cops.
crazy.
Another crazy story is the first cop that busted me for my second time, sorry. First one was Bernie Elementary with my girlfriend, and the cop scared the shit out of her so bad that she never stepped a foot in another building. So, anyways, I get busted the second time at Redford High School. I got arrested. I tried to call his bluff. He said, "Let me see your camera." I said, "No way. I'm not. I know my rights." Oh, you want to show me your camera? I said, "I don't have to. That's my rights." He said, "Okay, put your hands behind your back. You're going to jail." And so I called him. I'm like, all right,
Oh
fuck it.
no.
Let's go. Let's go. I can do jail time. I'm fucking tough, right? I've been to jail before. I'm on my way to jail. I'm like, fuck, I'm handcuffed in the back seat. I was with a chick at the time too, who they let go, of course. So I'm like, all right, look, we pull up to the fucking jail or the police station, and I'm like, listen, what can I do to get out of this? And he's like, just show me your camera. Fuck it. All right, I was in there. Like I'm literally calling his bluff until I realized he's gonna do this.
Yeah.
That same cop ended up getting busted for theft and embezzlement and running some type of scam with the Detroit police,
Holy crap.
Detroit Public Schools police. John Green, look him up. Officer John Green, common spelling. Detroit Public Schools police. Google it, you'll see it. He was involved in some scam, insurance scam, ended up going to jail. But yeah, it's just wild. That's how crazy and corrupt Detroit was. And I
That
always
is
called it
insane.
Gotham City because it's dark, crime ridden, corrupt, and
I
like
feel
all
like
those.
I would be a little bit more ruthless too, though, in a way, if I lived in Detroit and I knew all this shit was going on, because I would be like,
Yes,
at the end of the
exactly.
day, I'm doing something way more legal than half of y'all. So,
And like I said, I wasn't breaking in. I never wasn't breaking in. Now there was some times where I did break in, and I didn't get caught. But whatever it was, they charged me. So on that case where I went to jail and got on probation, there was a board. Here. I'm gonna tell you the whole story. The true story about that whole story is the night before, maybe 2 nights before, one of my this is terrible because I'm a social worker. One of my clients at the treatment center. I hadn't graduated yet, so I actually wasn't a social worker yet. But I paid him money to go break that board for me. I took him out there at night and I said, listen, here's 20 bucks, go break that board for me. Because I didn't want to get my hands dirty. So, because I knew there was cameras in there, right? And so I could run in and gun the then run back in 2 weeks and I was going to do that.
yeah.
So he did it. I took him home, dropped him off. That following weekend, no, it was during the week. Me and my boy Zach went and got busted. And they said, we know that board was there as of last week. So we know that you broke in. I said, no, I didn't. I didn't. I swear I didn't touch that board because I didn't. Still got charged for it. So,
No.
yeah. And even when I went to court, they knocked it down. So they tried to hit me with felony B&E. but
Oh no.
I pled guilty to EWOP. So what they would give you back then is EWOP. They EWOPed me 12 times, entering without owner permission, which was a minimal charge until I think the last one they really tried to hit me hard on. But anyways, that it, they fucking, oh my god, this is so crazy. Oh, I haven't thought about this in a long time. This fucking shit, man. I was so fucking obsessive about these schools that I was like, I'm gonna get these done no matter what happens and no matter what happens. But that taught me a big lesson. And that lesson was don't break in.
Mm-hmm.
I still today am very, very uncomfortable whenever I have to do damage to any property. Even if it's the slight, if I'm bumping a deadbolt, which I'm pretty skilled at doing, if I even scratch the wood, I'm like, ugh, right? I'm not comfortable. This is why people think I've learned picking locks, hacking realtor boxes, all types of stuff that I've learned over the years is not so I can be a better explorer. Sure, that's a benefit of it. And sure, I'm allowed to get into buildings that other people can't. But that's not why I learned all that. That's not why I mastered picking locks and why I mastered these skills. It's so I don't get arrested and get in trouble.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is it's given me an edge on, well, Leland and I did a funeral home somewhere down south just on this last trip a few weeks ago where I hacked the realtor box and I got us in through doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in, I get the key out, I unlock the front door, then I put the key back in the realtor box, close that up, then I lock the door, lock us in. And then we go downstairs and we see, okay, we're going to be here for a minute. So let's unlock this door down in the basement. So that way, if we hear somebody come in, we'll get out the back. Or if they catch us, we'll say, hey, this garage door was open because it's a lift garage door, you know?
That's
Guess
so
what happened?
smart. Y'all got caught.
Guess yep. So,
Oh no.
oh, it was scary as shit. This shook Leland to the core. Like Leland was like, I'm done after this. I'm like, listen, bro, I deal with this a little more than you. 'Cause
I
I,
bet. I bet
because
Leland was shitting.
poor Leland, you know, he is such a good dude, but he doesn't explore like I do, right?
Yeah. Avoid the risky stuff.
Exactly. So like
Yeah.
what happened was he was like, I'm about to do a video and film. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna go upstairs and shoot there wasn't anything upstairs. It was an old historic funeral home. But when we went upstairs, I could tell that somebody was coming in and out. It was out there was like newer mail on the desk. So like I could tell somebody was, but it's for sale. Owner retired a few years ago, like 7 years ago. And it was for sale. So I'm like, okay, in the realtor box. So I'm like, all right, ain't nobody here. But remember there was snow. So there was tracks in the driveway. And like I should have
Oh.
caught that. But anyways, he goes, I'm gonna go upstairs while you film, and then by that time you're done, we'll switch. Cool. So I'm down there filming, and then my GoPro dies. So I'm like, all right, I gotta change my GoPro. So I shut the camera off and I'm changing the battery on my GoPro. And all of a sudden I hear Leland running down the stairs. Oh, this ain't good. I already know in my head this ain't good. He says, we gotta go now. We gotta go now. And he's like pointing at the garage door. So I grab my gear and I have my camera on my tripod. No, not on the tripod because I'm filming. Tripod sitting there in my bag. I just scoop everything in my arms and I'm ready to hit the door. And I look at Leland and God bless him. I yelled at him a little bit, I think, and I feel bad about that. But I'm like, bro, he's over there unscrewing his camera from his tripod. So you don't have time to do that, bro. We got to go now. Next thing I know, we hear dude coming down the stairs.
Oh.
So there's nothing we could do. We were done. So of course he's fucking pissed. There was a couch in front of the hearse and we wanted to photograph the hearse. So we moved the couch. So it had blocked his way a little bit. So he's like, who the fuck are you? And why are you in my fucking funeral home? It's like, fuck, dude. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, we thought this was abandoned. What the fuck would make you think this is abandoned? I got a gun in my back pocket and I'm gonna shoot you guys both dead right now. I'll
Oh
put my hands up.
no.
I'm like, listen. Thankfully, I knew the history. I knew when it had closed. I knew the name of it. I knew everything. So I threw it at him. The owner retired here this year. I don't want to say it because I don't want people to go.
Mm-hmm.
Although, if you do, the fucking guy said, next person that comes on my property, I'm going to kill him. So, because turns out we were not the first people that he knew that had gotten in there. But, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
it's in Virginia, so we'll avoid it. This dude fucking was so pissed. He grabbed me on my arm, like, didn't grab me aggressively, but like, he had like banana fingers. He's like 6'2". Another one that's like
Banana
25, just looks like a motorcycle, dude. Looked like a big beard, scary as fuck, screaming. He said something like, "You're lucky I don't like police." So he's not gonna call the cops because he doesn't like the cops. So he's like, "Just get out of my funeral home now before I do kill you." And then so we're like, "Okay." So we got out the garage door, and he's like, "Hold on!" And I'm like, "Oh no, oh no, shit! Thought we were good." Before you guys go, move my couch back. So we moved the couch back, and then he's like, tell your friends and people that the next time anybody that comes here, they're gonna get a bullet between their eyes. So we left and we ran out of there. And then as we left, I said we got to find out who that was or whatever. So we started looking online, and it's the owner's son.
Oh
So the
no.
owner was the one that retired. The son is now the one trying to sell it. I don't know if his dad passed on or whatever, but yeah, it was pretty fucking
Holy shit.
terrible. It could have ended really bad for us.
Yeah. Poor Leland,
Again,
too. I can't imagine him in a situation like that. He's probably like, "I'm
no.
never exploring ever again."
Oh yeah, it took I had to like talk him into like hitting another spot. And we're on a
Oh,
road
no,
trip.
and you're like, "I'm ready." 5
Like I'm
minutes
like,
later.
he handled it well though. He was shook for the rest of that day, but the next day he started to go. As soon as you get into another spot and you get it done, you're like, all right, we're got the
Yeah,
vibe.
you kinda gotta shake off that experience with a new one,
Exactly,
and
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
but
Yep.
God, I would've been shitting my whole
It's
self.
crazy, crazy shit. Like
And I
wild,
think
wild.
you get that way more, like, people are always like, "Oh, what about cops?" I'm like, "Listen, cops are literally the least of my concerns. Every
I
cop
mean, right?
encounter I've had has been excellent, pleasant, nice, no
Yep,
problems.
yep,
The
yep.
owners, the neighbors, family members,
Yeah, for
those
sure.
are the crazy motherfuckers, like, those
Especially
are
at houses.
yeah, those are the
You know, they
crazy
can
ones.
kill you. They can kill you.
Mhm.
Like the fucking case out of the Pennsylvania in the Poconos with those that get the guy and his girlfriend, urban explorers. The boyfriend got killed. She got shot, but she survived, and he got charged. He was trying to. He almost got off on castle doctrine and standard ground. Pennsylvania is a castle doctrine state, and so is Michigan. It's a little different than standard ground like Texas has and stuff, but California, you can protect your home and all those things. And these people, two young urban explorers, went into his house thinking it was abandoned, and he shot them multiple times, killed him, and that's why he got found guilty, was because he shot him multiple times instead of just once. So he had proven it was malicious. Plus, they went in yelling, "Anybody here? Anybody here?" So she testified to that, and he ignored them and hid behind a curtain and waited for them to come upstairs and then blasted them,
Oh my god.
knowing that they were young kids, probably taking photos.
Fuck it up.
I don't. I mean, it's tough, man. He's an older guy. He might have been a vet. It's fucked up, man.
It
But
is tough, yeah, that's tough, and I
that's why you
mean,
got to be careful.
yeah, you gotta be careful and you gotta understand all the risks that you're taking every time because it's not just
Absolutely.
about the police or whatever, or like
No,
legal
no.
trouble. I'm like, "No, no."
Yep, you're
Mm.
right about that. The police, I definitely fear them, but like, yeah, I'm always
To
on point.
me,
Like,
it's more when my mind goes to getting caught by the police, it turns into more of a worry around the inconvenience of that
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
It's never a worry about like, "Oh, I'm
yes,
afraid."
you're right.
It's just like, "Oh, I don't wanna
And the
really deal with
financial,
that."
the
Exactly, yeah,
finances, it's going to
it
cost
turns
you.
into something you don't wanna deal with. When you're
Yep,
confronted by, like, a crazy owner, you're sometimes looking at a life or death situation, and that
right.
changes everything really
It
drastically.
does. It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's fucked up because like there was one time in the Cass corridor when I might not have lived there. I might have lived there. Mike and I were walking around this house, old mansion, and I'm peeking in the windows trying to see, right? So I'm go up to the front, and as soon as I go up to the front, guy comes out with a baseball bat in his hand, and he's hitting it
Oh.
in his hand. He's like, "What the?" are you doing on my property? He's ready to bash my brains in. He's seen me peeking in his windows too.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, man. I thought it was abandoned. I'm going to kill you right now. I said, you kill me right now, bro. You're going to have one hell of a story to explain because one thing was going to save me was that it had a brand new for sale sign.
Mm.
So I just said I was there I was interested in buying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you're going to have a hell of a story to explain because I'm here to see if I want to buy this. So
Mm,
that
so
got me
maybe
out
keep
of
a
it. But
for
like,
sale
yeah,
sign out of your yard.
yeah, you're right. I had a buddy. This is another wild one. There was an abandoned church on the west side of Detroit off of Wyoming. And we drove up to it. And I saw that the front door was open. It was like ajar a little bit. So my buddy's like, oh, shit. Okay. Well, maybe somebody's in there or something. So he's like, I'll go ask, see what's up. So he knocks on the door. And a guy answers the door. And I'm getting out of my car at this point, getting ready to get out of the car. And so I'm grabbing my gear. Next thing I know, my buddy's gone. He's inside. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? So I'm kind of waiting at the car for him for a minute. Just a couple minutes later, he comes back out and he's like, let's go. And he got this look on his face. I'm like, all right. So we get in the car and we go, what the fuck happened? And he's like, so I went in there. They invited him in. And it was one guy that answered the door. And Kurt, my buddy, who I was with at he's not an urban explorer. He only explored with me for like a year. I went to classes. I was in classes with him. Him and I ended up being really good friends, but he's not an urban explorer. So anyways, he goes, I'm here to meet Pastor Brown. He makes up this name, right? And the guy goes, come on in. Pastor Brown will be here in a second. And they're all sitting in a circle. Like there's like 10 dudes sitting in a circle. And they're like, have a seat. My boy's like, oh no, I don't got time. So he's like making some shit up just to get the fuck out. Crazy story. Like he
What
says to
the
me
hell?
that like I stood up in his wedding last year and like he'll still talk about that. Like how it was so scary and like awkward for him. Like he felt like he was gonna
It
get
was like a cult.
sacrificed or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And an abandoned church too, by the way.
No.
Yeah, that was wild. That was
That
years ago.
sounds like where Jeffrey Epstein's Island, the idea for it got created. It was that
Yeah.
meeting that day.
Yep, that is wild stuff. And I drive by that building still now. It's now another church. But yeah, I always think of that story
It's an
whenever I'm driving
active
by.
church now?
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. What a cool
Yep.
story, though. That's like a good memory to have every time you drive by that place.
Yes. Yes.
Be like,
Absolutely.
remember when you almost joined that cult by accident?
Fucking wild, though.
Remember when you
That's
almost got initiated into that weird gang?
yeah.
The church.
Oh, and that type of thing has happened to me personally in St. Louis. Now I know the South, like you're from the South, and probably a lot of your audience might be from the South, and like how Southern explorers and East Coast and Midwest don't really overlap too much,
Mhm.
because we tend to stick to our geographical areas in urban
Yeah.
exploring. But there's people like me that travel throughout, right, and come down south from the Midwest and East Coast and all this stuff. So like some people might know this, but the Jefferson Arms Hotel in St. Louis. It was a beautiful historic hotel with like gold painted swans and like a swan on the curtain. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think it's under renovation now or might even be renovated. I think it is renovated now. I think it reopened. Yeah, it did reopen. It sat abandoned for a good 15, 20 years.
Wow.
So we get there. This is probably 2017, 2018. We get there. I hadn't done it yet. I wanted to do it. I had struck out once before, so I see that there is a guy going in the door as we're like driving around. So I'm like, oh shit, somebody's here. It looked like a contractor, a worker, or something. So we park, go in. The doors open, so I go in, and he's sitting in the lobby in a chair, and he said, "Oh, how can I help you?" or whatever. And I said, "Oh, we were just trying to take photographs of the Jefferson Arms because Mike told us we could be here." Or he said, "Oh, yeah, did somebody tell you you could?" And I think I said, "Mike told us we could be here." I said the name Mike. And he said, "Oh, I just talked to him. Here, let me call him real quick." The fuck? He calls this dude. "Hey, Mike, I made that name up off the top of my head. And like I still have in my phone now, I think Mike from so he says to the guy, hey, these guys claim that you said that they could come back, right? He's like, I don't remember any of that. And so and then I said, actually, Mike, it wasn't you directly. It was one of your workers that said, let me talk. And I spin it off, right? So he said, well, I can't let you get permission today, but if you ever come back, I will get you permission for it. And I was just like, holy shit. So, like, this right here is still his phone number, Mike Jefferson Arms. That is the guy. So that dude gave me his phone number, which I never called, but that's a true story. But I had
That's
Jerry with me
so
and a lot. There was like four of us. Tasm was with me, so like they can vouch for that because they were like right there at my side and they just watched it all happen. Like holy shit,
that
crazy.
is so crazy. What a coincidence.
I know.
You're like,
What
another
a-
pro tip, throw out a random common name.
yes, right, right.
It may
Ugh,
or may not work. It may double back and turn around and bite you in the ass, but it also might work.
right, that's right.
He
Oh,
said that means
goodness.
call Mike. You're like, no,
I
it's
was
a
like,
different Mike.
yes. I'm like, oh my God, what are the chances of this?
You're like, wait, what Mike are you calling?
Yeah. Well, I was talking about a different mic.
It's like, not that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Mike. I meant Michael.
exactly. So
Oh,
crazy though.
man. That is so funny. Oh man, I could not believe we've been talking for this long.
That's why I'm like, oh, you got to have me on here. Like I'll talk about this all day long. I'll sit here for hours and talk about it. I'll tell stories. I'll tell you anything you want. I'm very open, right? Like I'm an open book. I like to talk. First of all, I'm a social worker, so of course I'm social. I have to be a
Mhm.
social butterfly, and I love people, right? So I enjoy talking,
Yeah.
especially when it's about me. No, I'm just kidding.
Especially when it's about exploring.
That's what I meant to say.
Uh, well, I thank Leland for connecting us because he knew what he
My
was
boy.
doing.
That's
Yeah.
my boy. Now I'm sure that's why he knew that you that I would be a good guest for your podcast
Mhm.
and decided to link us up with that. Even though it was crazy how it worked, I'm glad it did because
Yeah.
I love it and I love to be meeting nice people and good people like yourself and to help you
Well,
out with
thank
your
you.
platform. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That's always very nice to hear, especially, we were just talking about this community. It's not always
Yes.
like that.
Exactly. There's not enough of that. And that's maybe next time I'll come down there, we'll have to link up and do some stiff in South Carolina.
Yeah,
I
totally.
love me some Orangeburg, Union, Chester. I love it.
Mhm.
I love that whole area from through Columbia all the way up, right? So,
Mhm.
the a crazy story, really quickly, is that my wife, she and I met 19 years ago. So I just gotten clean and I moved in with my buddies who were in recovery and had more clean time than me. And I was renting their basement because it was close to school. And they said, hey, look, our two friends are owners and running a Mexican restaurant, and you can come get a job doing delivery for a Mexican restaurant.
Oh, nice.
So I did. I ended up going to work for them. My wife she's 12 years older than me, right? So like she's older than me, yes. But I've always been attracted to older women. That's good because that's opposite of Epstein-ish, right? So like
You're
I've
setting a
always
new
been
trajectory for men.
yes, I've always liked older women, not younger women. So like she and I gelled well though, but she was working as the head manager and then the owner, and they were like really close, my wife and him, and then with my other buddies. And we started dating. But anyways, my buddy, not my buddies. Well, I guess yeah, my buddy, because I was kind of friends with him too, ended up taking that Mexican restaurant and which is now closed and moved to Columbia, South Carolina.
What?
And it is Tio's Mexican restaurant.
Oh
So if
my
you
god. Are you for real?
you know about Tio's?
Yeah, of course I do. It's not far from me at all.
Holy shit. Yeah. So like his Jamie's sister is the one that, in fact, I went in there with Leland last year, 2 years ago, and talked to Jamie's sister who owns that and runs that, and Miga and all them. And they still, yeah, they're all down there, and they moved to Columbia, and they were asking me about my wife and how she's doing. And like, yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how small
Wow.
this world really is, you know?
Yeah, it really is, just like that lady you work with from Kershaw's.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking so much time out of your day to talk to me
You're so
today.
welcome.
Do you have an explorer's track, like a song or something of that nature that's important to you or relative to your urbex journey?
Whew, man. It's like sometimes like I hear a song when I'm like on the road randomly. And recently I was in McDonald's with Leland because I had to go get a coffee and a song came on. Think it was Mike and the Mechanics Silent Running, okay?
Mhm.
So like I've never even really listened to it that much. But since it came on and I was sitting there listening to it for that long, now whenever I hear that song, it reminds me of that trip, right? So
Mhm.
like stuff like that has happened to me. There's another one, Journey song that reminds me of a trip I took way back a long time ago into Ohio. So like certain songs will remind me of certain things.
I like that a lot. Now I'm trying
Yes.
to think of a way I can reword the explorer's track question so only stories like that are told.
Right, exactly. Any songs that remind you of a trip you took or
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
building that you went
I
to.
might have to
Yeah,
change it up a little bit. Okay, if you
you
wanna
did
let
great.
everyone know where to find you on your socials and any platforms you have.
Yep. So I have the YouTube channel is Abandoned Central, and that is where you can see the Detroit documentary, which is all about me and well the locations I did in the 100 schools and the four stadiums I did. Our TikTok, Abandoned Central TikTok, and Abandoned Central Facebook, and Abandoned Central IG. But personally, for me, Detroit Unseen, and that is on Instagram, Detroit_unseen. So it's not one word. It used to be my account got hacked shortly after the documentary came. I used to have like 200,000 followers. So
Oh,
like
no, it got hacked.
it got hacked and I lost it all, including my early videos and all. But I didn't lose all the footage. I still have all that stuff, but I just lost
You
the
lost the
account, so I had to
account.
start over. But it was kind of a relief at the time because I couldn't even respond to half the people. There were so many people responding to me at that time because the documentary had just come out. It was overwhelming. So it kind of was a reprieve at the time, but I do regret that and lost a lot of. But people have come back and
You're
followed
the
me, and now
only
it's been
person I've talked to that's been relieved about getting hacked.
yeah, right, right. Exactly. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Like, thank you for having me, Courtney. It's been awesome. I'm glad I was invited to be a part of Echoes, and I'm certainly honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very, very
Welcome.
much. And we can thank Leland for
That's right. Thanks, Leland.
you.
Love you,
Yeah.
brother.
All right. Well, thanks again. And yeah, like I said, just let me know if you have any questions or anything
Will
like
do.
that. And I'll be in touch about all the other things.
Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate it.
And that was my conversation with Detroit Unseen. Detroit is a city that continues to evolve, and conversations like this are a reminder that the places we explore aren't just abandoned structures, they're pieces of history. Every building has a story, and sometimes the only record of that story is the people who took the time to document it before it was gone. If you enjoyed this episode, you can check out Detroit Unseen at Detroit_unseen to see some of the incredible locations we talked about today. And if you enjoy Echoes of Elsewhere, sharing the show with a friend, leaving a review, or following along on social media at Urbex Echoes or Echoes of Elsewhere on Facebook really helps more people discover these stories. And as always, I am forever grateful for all of you for supporting and for listening to this podcast. I will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, keep exploring the allure in the abandoned, the beauty of decay, and the echoes of elsewhere.